Welcome back to Pirateaba, and yes, I know we're talking about the Wandering Inn again, and this video podcast, whatever you want to call it, is extremely long. I know, guys, this is definitely only specifically for the Wandering Inn fans. Previous to this recording, I did just a short kind of discussion on my thoughts on the Wandering Inn, but I wanted to have a spoiler discussion, just like I did about One Piece all those years ago with the person who got me into the series. And I have to say, man, it was a 4-hour conversation that I've had to edit down to 3 hours. This is the longest running fantasy series of all time, and it's still ongoing. And 3 hours in the span of what is out there in this franchise is nothing. Honestly, it's nothing. But I do understand that this episode is probably not even for the subscribers. If you've never heard The Wandering Inn, you might not want to listen. But if you're a fan and you've ever wanted to hear two people talk about The Wandering Inn, all the way from the re-release of book 1 up until book 14, and the 2 Cara books as well, I'm going to put it all on the screen. But I will want to say, this conversation is scatterbrained, man. We probably should have practiced, but I edited it as much as I can. But guys, honestly, I'm going to put something on the screen to jump to the parts you want to jump to. We talk about the characters for like the last half, and in the first half, it sounds like we're bitching a lot. But trust me, we wouldn't have even have read this series past book 2 if it wasn't good. There's no denying this book series is good. It's just we have problems with it. And every other review we see on YouTube is just, oh, it's amazing, it's the best, it's da 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 da. There's no critical discussion about it. So, number one, if you haven't read The Wandering Inn, I highly recommend that you check out the first 2 books on Audible and then decide for yourself. As a general recommendation, we said it in the podcast, I said it before, I'll say it again, but this is a kind of fans-only discussion that we just vented out, talk about spoilers. But yeah, it was scatterbrained. It was scatterbrained. I apologize about that. I did my best to edit it. Also, there was some weird sibilance echoing going on. I tried to fix it in post as well. I did my best. But you know, in all honesty, this is one of those situations where we're like, you know what? We got it all out there and it could have been done better. We don't have the time to do it. It just is what it is. So if you listen to this 3-hour podcast and you enjoy it, we really appreciate it. If you don't, that's completely fine. Especially the die-hard Reddit Wandering Inn fans that I've already encountered. Everybody who already commented on my previous The Wandering Inn discussion review I had. I mean, boy, I got a lot of hate. And we're probably going to get hate for this one for the 5 people that will listen to us talk about it for 3 hours. But anyway, a general recommendation, check out the first 2 books if you don't know what The Wandering Inn is. It's on Audible. Andrea Parsneau, the narrator, is a fucking legend. I mean, if you hear nothing else, Andrea Parsneau, the narrator, is fucking amazing. So, let's start. I'm back here with Nuance. It's been a decade since we did the podcast together. This may very well one day be the next Harry Potter, or even bigger. I think it's possible. I do, whether I love it or not. But on that note, thanks for listening to us. We're going to start the podcast now. And yeah, it's for the fans. It's for the fans. Thanks for listening. Leave a comment down below if you enjoyed it. And yes, it is too long maybe. But for those who check it out, we hope you enjoy. Let's go. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another Pirateaba discussion. It's been a very long time, especially with my wonderful guest here, who, according to my notes, we haven't done an audio recording together since October 2011.
That's not true.
Yeah.
That can't be true.
The last
2011.
time, yeah, I'll tell you, there's 2 things. So the last time we did the podcast together, me and you, talking about something for 2 hours, was October 2011. And that was the One Piece pre-time skip discussion.
Okay.
We just spoke about everything before they had that time skip. And we haven't obviously finished One Piece, so One Piece hasn't finished. But you're here to talk to me. You're here to talk to me about the Wandering Inn book series, which is Mammoth. It's a Mammoth series, it is now almost officially, it's not in the Guinness World Book of Records yet, but the discussion is this is the longest running fantasy book series ever written. I've got the word count numbers here, which I'll get to later. Now, you listening, or watching on YouTube, I already did a quick review for the Wandering Inn book series. At that time, I had read 13 books. I think I've read an extra book since then. But I had to have the person on with me who actually got me into the Wandering Inn, who's very opinionated. And, you know, to be perfectly honest with you, just like when we did our anime discussions back in the day, I haven't heard that two people have a very long critical discussion about this series, which is why I wanted to have you on. It's Nuance, everybody. Nuance is back.
What's up, my peoples?
But to be fair, the last time we did something for Pirateaba together, it was more recent. We did, in 2015, we did a video on camera, both of us, where we spoke about Jay-Z and Beyonce.
Did we?
Yeah, it
I
was.
can't remember that. Speaking about Jay-Z and Beyonce,
Yeah,
for real.
the video came out of Jay-Z getting stomped.
Oh well.
There was a reason why, but anyway, it was related to pop culture people. But anyway, this is going to be a long podcast, and honestly, after reading such a mammoth, the longest fantasy series, honestly, I got so much thoughts. The discussion I had on my original review, it wasn't enough. I want Nuance to jump in there and things she wants to say. At the time of this recording, I just want, you know what, I want to put people in the headspace. First of all, the first thing we're going to say, if you've not read The Wandering Inn, because I feel like this podcast is going to be for more people who have read the books, who know about the story, but for the newcomers, if they just want to hear generally, would I recommend The Wandering Inn? Do I think it's a good book series? We just want to give surface level.
No
thoughts.
spoilers.
No spoilers yet.
That's going to be hard,
Yeah.
but I will try.
Yeah.
No spoilers.
We're going to get into it, and I just want to let you guys know, me and Nuance have read Book 1, The Wandering Inn, Book 2, Faye and Fair, Book 3, Flowers of I'm not going to pronounce things properly because you can pronounce the names of the lands better than me. Anyway, Book 3 is Flowers of Estelem, Book 4, Winter Solstice, Book 5, The Last Light, Book 6, The General of Israel, Book 7, Reigns of Lisgore, Book 8, Blood of Lisgore, Book 9, Tears of Lisgore.
So I didn't even remember that them books are so far down, you know, that the Lisgore books are so far down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then we got Book 10, The Windrunner, Book 11, The Titan of Baleros, Book 12, The Witch of Webs, Book 13, The Empress of Beasts, Book 14, Hell's Wardens, which I think when I did my original review, we hadn't read that book yet.
Oh, you hadn't read that.
Okay. Now, we're recording this recording, I think it's the 24th of, let's get the date. It's the 27th of January, 2025. At the time of this recording, and we're talking about the audiobooks, by the way.
Yeah. And that's the thing, because we're going to say read a lot, but we actually mean
The
listen.
audiobooks, yeah.
We mean listen. We going to say read, but we mean listen.
And we're only talking about the released audiobooks. We're not talking about the web serial, which is years ahead. Everyone, I know they're so far ahead on the, we don't know about the web serial content. I've heard a couple of spoilers. To be quite frank, I don't really care about the spoilers right now.
Yeah, and I don't want you to tell me no more spoilers because you told me a couple and I don't want to hear no more.
Yeah, it sounds mad. But anyway, the next book that's about to be released is called The Garden of Sanctuary, which is going to be released on the 1st of April, 2025, April Fool's Day, ironically, on Audible. But apart from that, there's 2 side book projects, which I think is the series called The Singer of Terandria, about Cara. Anyway, number 1, Grave Song, and number 2, Hunt Song, which Hunt Song is the last book that we both read. That is the most recently released book from this series. There is a graphic novel Pirateaba collaborated on, also called The Last Tide. Now, I've seen previews of it. That was released in 2020. I've seen previews of it. I haven't read it myself. It looks really cool. I'm going to say this now. I actually wish That Last Tide was the other spin-offs instead. I wish it was the actual book. I wish it wasn't a graphic novel.
But funny enough, I think I said to you that I thought when I was reading The Wandering Inn that The Last Tide was coming out as an audio. So I didn't even know, because I think The Last Tide was done before Grave Song. Was it not? I think so. It was. Yeah.
It was released during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So I have to tell.
So when I remember seeing a picture of it, and I was like, yo, this looks really cool. Like I'm looking forward to listening to it. But then, like you said, it turned out it's not.
Yeah.
On audio.
It's not. It's just a quote. And I love the graphic novel landscape. I will buy that graphic novel just because I want to support the artist as well, and I want to support Pirateaba's works. So guys, just to set the scene. You know what we've read so far. You know what we're not going to be talking about. We are recording in Nuance's lovely home, so you might hear some doorbells, some stuff like that. But Nuance's time is very precious, so we had to do it. I had to get her when I can get her. She's very busy, and I just want to thank you for joining me on this discussion.
I can't believe you're trying to say it's like over 10 years. That's crazy, though.
Over 10 years, yeah.
That's crazy.
Discussion, yeah. Catface, you are missed, by the way.
We miss you, Kitty Cat, by the way.
I missed the old days of us doing the starting playing Tower together, but can you believe it? 2011.
I can't believe that. That is wild.
This is a great franchise to talk about. So, for the non-spoiler people, I just want to say this. I think The Wandering Inn is quite a good series. I think the only reason I'm going to compare it to One Piece is for a couple of reasons. When people say, check out One Piece, a lot of people are thrown by the length. Oh man, how many episodes? 1,000 episodes? Oh my God, But there's a lot of great content there. Now, like most fans of One Piece and other anime that are very long running, a lot of people say, you know what? Don't think about the length. Just read it, see if you enjoy it. And I do think The Wandering Inn is enjoyable overall. I just think it's very long in the tooth. I think that might even be an understatement. It might not be for everyone. Ironically, when I was looking for reviews for The Wandering Inn, especially after I finished it, I couldn't find any. All I could find people was saying that, oh, it's the best thing ever, or I couldn't get past the first book. Recently, Pirateaba and Andrea, Parsneau, the narrator, they re-released the first book. They made a new edition, the second edition, which is a rewriting of the first book from a different perspective. I'll talk about this later, but basically there's a new entry point to The Wandering Inn. I wasn't bothered with the first one. I thought it was okay. I didn't mind the first original version of the audiobook of The Wandering Inn, but I would just say The Wandering Inn is fine. I have problems with it. It's not perfect. I think it's way too long in the tooth for what it is, but just by nature of what it is, it being long in the tooth, it's a different experience.
It's a different genre.
Yeah, which I couldn't wrap my head around this. I'll explain why. But I just want to say my general, and I said this in the video, give The Wandering Inn a chance. Check out the first two books, which is a meaty. You're talking about, I think, the second book's 60 hours and the first book's 30. So you got 90 hours to enjoy. And I think those first two books are pretty good. Still long in the tooth, but pretty good. I would give The Wandering Inn, on a whole, even with everything I've read to, for me, it all levels out to be a solid B, if I had to give it a rating. And I'll get into spoilers later, but I just want to say, personally, it's a good series, and I'm frustrated with a lot, but I'm not going to jibe the writer for their writing style, their long-winded writing style, their stream of conscious writing style. A lot of people say it's not a traditional story per se, but the publisher or whoever's working with her is chopping up this web serial into books, and that leads to a different experience. So I don't want to start getting into things, but I just want to say it's a good series. Read the first books. I'm going to get very critical later, but that's what I'm going to say for now.
All right. If I was going to give, I'll just go with my ratings straight away. If I was going to rate The Wandering Inn, I would definitely give it a solid B. Definitely. I think it has room to be like one of the best books that I've read. I'd put it on my shelf like, yo, you got to read this. Mm-hmm. But where it is right now, to tell you the truth, I'd probably give it a lower rating as the time has gone by. But then obviously as we go through this discussion, I'll break down why I feel that way. But if I'm going to put that whole thing on a plate, I'm going to give it a solid B for now. But obviously, I think you have to be in a certain frame of mind to listen to The Wandering Inn. I think it suits a certain place you might be in your life to listen to The Wandering Inn.
What, trapped on a desert island?
Trapped on a desert island, or you're busy, or
in hospital, recovering.
You broke a leg, you can't go nowhere. Do you know what I mean? You're suffering from COVID, you're suffering from some underlying medical condition which only allows you to stay in your bed and go to the toilet. You know, those kind of situations is perfect for reading The Wandering, and it is because of the in between. the filler. I'm going to call it filler. It's because of the filler, the stuff that happens in between. Then that's the reason why I'm saying now I'm giving it a solid B. It's weird because I'm going to say this to everyone again. In the future, yeah, I'm not. I can't give it a first class. I'll give it, because of as the time has gone by, I'm giving it a solid B.
You know, I call this a stream of consciousness book because the way Pirateaba writes, you have a lot of conversation. It's very slice of life. But sometimes, you know, I think a lot of listeners coming from other books might be like, this is just too much dialogue. This might just be too... But, you know, the benefit of that is you really get to enjoy these characters. They're really fleshed out. But when this series is over, there might be a version of this which is condensed. That might be the Hall of Fame version.
And that's the thing, I think, because when you say over, I don't think you can say over, because it's not going to be over because of the fact that, as we've learned, as you said, they've gone back and rewritten or rehashed the first book. Do you see what I mean? And so...
made it more concise, tightened it up.
And that's the thing. So there's there's always going to be potential for the writers to go back. And because of that, because of all of that, that's the reason why I kind of feel like it has a potential to be, it could be anything. To tell you the truth, I'm saying it has a potential to be Hall of Fame. It could have the potential to be clown shoes, but even I said that, I don't think it can, because of the fact that it's I'm going to call this an interactive slice of life kind of book, because of the fact that the fans, the peoples, have a lot to say about what's being written and have a lot of input. And that's the reason why the first book has been rehashed in certain ways.
And to clarify, because Pirateaba has said unanimously, I don't take people's consideration into how I write or into the plot. But at the same time, if you've made a second edition, then in some way you've taken the feedback and have executed and streamlined your story. So you can't not say that you're not listening to the fans in one way when you're trying to make a better version of your old books by stream. Listen, you recommended me another book series, Riff War, where the first two books was redone. I think the guy just called it, what was the first books of Riff War called again? The Wizard? I think it's called Wizard or something. Anyway, long story short, he re-released those books into one book when they were originally two. The guy, Michael J. Summer, who did the same thing. He released the original books in a small six, then he compiled it. So this isn't new, but because her books are so long, it's going to feel different if they become like Dragon Ball Z Kai. If they become cut up and then condensed. But that version might be a Hall of Fame version. It might be more digestible to the public. But as it stands now, and that's what we're talking about now, we're just going to talk about, we're talking about our thoughts.
Yeah, we're already talking about our thoughts. But this is the kind of thing, you saying that Pirateaba is saying that, you know, she doesn't take what people are saying into consideration.
That might be with the plot. That might be with specific.
Maybe, yeah, because you can't really say that because you've just rewritten the first book, and the first book is where most people have the problems.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the reason why I'm like, this is a growing... It's kind of a growing series in a sense.
It is.
Do you know what I mean? And it's
evolving.
interactive. We don't know what to call this.
Well, you know what?
Alien
A
thing.
lot of people, because we watched a couple of reviews about people talking about the Wandering In, and we're still not getting to spoilers yet. But a lot of people said Pirateaba is becoming like that storyteller at the fireplace, because the way we experience the books are, they're released on Audible, they're 30 to 40 hours or 25 or whatever. They feel like 25 hours minimum. Yeah. And there's so much happening, there's so much story, and we, you know, because she's written so many words, every 3 or 4 months we get another book. Yeah. So we feel like we're being called back again and again to the campfire to hear more of this story, which, as we just said, might be refined later.
Yeah, but the thing about if you're talking about campfires, the thing about campfire stories is they're always changing, they're always evolving. Sure. Do you see what I mean? And especially depending on who's listening at that fire. Do you know what I mean? So, and I kind of feel like whether they like it or not, that's what The Wandering In is. It's an evolving, moving, growing, living story. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And that keeps on going.
And which is also, I know we haven't spoken about the genre. It's the nature of the genre, the lit RPG, you know, talking about a world where a normal human being is transported into a fantasy world where there's game mechanics like levels and power-ups, stuff like that. It's funny how The Wandering In doesn't even lean into that as much as I thought it would.
Well, that's a conversation piece in itself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How it starts.
Before we dive in, I just want to say we're going to kind of get into spoiler territory now. There's so many reviews for The Wandering In out there. what I just want to say lastly is that a lot of people coming into the series, funny enough, before this version 2 of the first book, to my surprise, a lot of people said, skip the first book, just listen to the second one. The first book's so dull and da-da. Like I said, the first book, to me, the original first book was fine, the audiobook. Andrea Parsneau, the narrator, who we're going to gush about later, she's fucking phenomenal.
We're going to do more than gush.
You know what I mean? We watched her interview. She had an interview on YouTube as well. We heard her story, her personal story, which is, I got nothing for respect for her.
Nothing but love.
Nothing but love for you, Andrea, for what you've done.
Yeah.
How you came into the industry as a narrator.
Yeah.
The performance you've given us with all the characters, the Antinium, the Drakes.
Yes, we cannot be like, I mean, you pulled me through the series, you know what I mean? And so
you took this book series to a next level.
Yeah.
And you might be, Andrea, and I heard you say this in an interview, with all due respect, you may be the reason why I hate Erin Solstice, because you do her too good. No, Andrea Parsneau, you get all the props.
Yeah. Clap for you, girl.
So listen, I listened to I might as well say this now. The re-release of the book one, the version 2 of The Wandering Inn, Audible have removed the original version. So anyone, they've removed, you can only hear this second edition of The Wandering Inn now. I have a copy of both, the original and the new one. And I compared the two before its discussions. And I just feel like this new edition of The Wandering Inn, the first book, it really just evens out the story, because there's things that happen in the future that now, reading the first book, it just sets it off. The perspective is just more balanced.
Yeah.
And it just feels more even. Like, Erin might be the main character, but this feels like a multi-character story. And again, I don't even like Erin as a main character at all. I've said this in person. But in terms of story, she's not even interesting in my opinion. And listen, you Erin diehards, even in my last comment, there's people that love Erin that don't want to read anything but the book from Erin's perspective. And I can understand that. An Innkeeper, there's nothing wrong, by the way. An Innkeeper storyline is a great jumping off point. It's Erin's personality I can't stand. Not anything she does well, okay. Some of the things she does annoy me as well. But her being an innkeeper is a great focal point. I have nothing wrong with that. It's just her personality I can't stand. Anyway, the second edition of the first book is a better way to get into it. Is it that much better than the original? The main difference is Andrea Parsnow's execution of the characters is in sync with the later books. You know what I mean? The actual things she added to the book, she added a lot of things like other characters you're introduced to later are introduced in his first book. Nearly all the characters I feel like are introduced in this first book, except for the villains who are surprises. And that's what makes you kind of know all the players. That's the difference. Obviously, in the first telling, she was learning and developing these characters, but now on this new revision, which again, to your point, as you said, you're kind of rewriting history in a way.
Yeah.
But to me, it was like, okay, I didn't feel you need to do it, but it helps the franchise. Fine, nothing wrong with that.
Unfortunately, I did not read the new edition simply because I read the first book twice.
Yeah, you've already reread the first one so many times.
The first book twice.
The first book, I believe, audiobook.
Yeah.
I believe either the original web series started in 2016. I believe the first audiobook came out in 2019. Correct me if I'm wrong, listeners. So now we're in 2025.
Yeah.
It came out in December 2024. Let's just say 2025. So 5 years, the first book has been out for a while. And during those years, you read it twice or three times. So I can't expect you to go back and read it a third time.
I tried.
Yeah. I told you what the difference was, and I think they're inconsequential.
Yeah, I think I listened to maybe 45 minutes, and then I was like, bro, I can't do this again. I just can't. But what I did listen to, I already saw the little changes, the little nuances, the little changes, and I could appreciate them, what I did listen to. Do you know what I mean? But for me, I couldn't listen to it. It's long, and I just couldn't listen to it, especially Erin starting from there. But I do think the funny thing is that if you do listen to the first book and then go on, you do realize that the voice acting is different. It was in its infancy in the first book, and then as it goes on, Andrea just gets
Better.
more refined, more defined, and it's just on point. It got to a point where I just was like, is this really one person? Is this really one person?
Yeah.
So yeah, and so, but when you listen to the first book, you hear it more that it's one person. When you go along, as the book goes along, you start to really, you can doubt yourself and be like, yo, is this really one person? So for me, I think it just says what I've said before about it being a living organism right now. That's what I'm going to call it. It's literally a living organism that is changing. But I could see that if I was giving it to somebody else that maybe doesn't have enough time and wants to get to the point of certain things, why you would redo the first book.
Let's wrap up this non-spoiler section by just saying, once and for all, like I said, do not be, I would just say, like I'm trying to convince someone to listen, but I said this before, don't be daunted by the length. Check out the first 2 books. This re-release is good. I think you'll know if you want to read it or not.
Yeah.
But it's a different book experience just because it's taken from a web serial. The passage of time isn't as even as other books. So I don't think you really feel that until the later books anyway, that you'll read what, how long has it been?
Yeah.
But I would just say that, I've read 16 books, including the 2 side stories, and I think it's a decent series. I have my problems with it, which we'll get into spoilers, but, Pirateaba is a very good writer, a very experienced writer, and one thing to her credit, if Pirateaba wrote a 3-book trilogy that was a quarter of the length, with all the heart and all the skills and all the pros that she's shown, she would be another Brandon Sanderson. I have no doubt, Yeah. But in this project and the way she's written this very slice of life, long in the tooth story, I found myself criticizing the length when really it's a different beast. So I had to kind of adjust my mindset. So that's and my frustration, even though I know what it is, by the way, I think I have valid criticism that I'll get to later. But yeah, I don't think this is a perfect book. When I go on YouTube and I see this is the best fantasy book, I'm like, guys, come on, slow your roll a bit. There's a lot of other lit RPGs that are, just as good, but not as long in the tooth. I'm not trying to take anything away from Pirateaba. I think what she's doing is great. It's different. She might be the next J.K. Rowling in 20 years for a whole new generation. You know what I mean? But
I don't think 20 years, but yeah.
Probably not 20 years, probably 10, probably less. Because 10 years ago, when we was making all these discussions about anime, it wasn't, the whole landscape it's a whole new world now.
Yeah, definitely.
And I just feel like Pirateaba is the leader of a whole new wave of writers, which is awesome. So that's...
We have to make it specific. It's not, this is a different genre.
But even in the lit RPG, because we've read other lit RPG stories as well, I think she's doing something different.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if I would say this is like standard lit RPG. If anybody's read like The Land and things like that, those are standard lit RPG books.
You finished Dungeon Crawler Carl?
I haven't I am up to date with Dungeon. It ain't finished. Dungeon Crawler Carl, that's a whole nother thing.
And we read another really good book, seems called All the Skills.
All the Skills, yeah. So these are ones that are standard, like, but Dungeon Crawler Carl, that's something different though. Yeah. That's something different.
Called it Cats.
Nah, yeah, that's another discussion, bro. You know what I mean? But let's leave that. Don't get me excited about that because I'm just up to date. I'm waiting for the next one to come out. So let's not go there. Sorry.
Yeah, that's coming out in April too.
Yeah, all my Dungeon Crawler Carl fans out there, you know what I'm saying, know what I mean, right?
Andrea Parsneau gave the right heads up on that too. But anyway, guys, have we said anything non-spoilery? Is there anything you want to say? No?
I just want to say, give it a chance. For all the old heads, I think for younger listeners, I think they'll find it easier.
Yeah.
To listen to and get into this new genre of writing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It is I would say it's an interactive way to write. That's how I would put it.
I mean, she does live writing.
Yes.
YouTube. She's very
So if you want to be involved and you want to kumbaya with your author and you want to put your 2 cents in, you know what I mean, whether she takes it or not is up for debate. If you want to, that kind of thing. But ultimately, if you're an older head, if you're a little bit long in the tooth, I feel like you should give this series a chance because there are nuggets. Like when it's good, boy, it
slaps.
It slap you twice, you know what I mean, on the ass. It's that good. It's good.
I think every book has those moments in it.
There's moments where I've stopped, like I'm doing stuff, and I've stopped, or I've been like, stop talking. Someone wants to talk to me, or I've got to do something. There had been moments where I've been listening, and I'd been like, someone's trying to talk to me, and I'm like, yo, just give me 10 minutes. Just give me 10 minutes. I'm listening to something, because when it's good, man, it's tear jerking, like. Good.
Yeah. Very well written. Yeah. And because you spend so many time with these characters, you feel everything. And I think Pirateaba is just such a good writer with emotion and dialogue. But,
the length.
It can be something.
Yeah, the length can be something. And as the books go on, then there's issues. But I just want to say, I would give it a chance. I definitely think
give it a chance. Solid B. We're going to be talking about this down the line, maybe again. But now we're going to move on to spoiler territory. If you haven't read the book, and listen, I know a lot of people might be listening to us that have read the web series. You guys haven't even scratched the surface of the series. Listen.
Yo, we put life into this series, boy. This is ours. If you want to talk about web series, I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah.
It's 13 books. 13?
16 right now.
Okay.
14 main books and the 2 side stories.
And the side stories as well. Yeah. This is hours of listening. So if you're web series, like I'm saying, it's a different genre. So people want to be like, we ain't scratched the surface. Boy, I scratched something. If this is the surface that I'm scratching, boy, I don't know if I'm going to get to the middle. You get me? It's deep.
Yeah, so listen, we're going to get to the minutiae now. I'm dreading editing. I don't know if I'm going to edit this one because maybe I just wanted to honor Pirateaba. This should be a stream of consciousness discussion without me even editing.
I don't even know about that. I don't know if you want to do. Do we want to do stream of consciousness review? I don't know.
Yeah, it might not be a good idea. But listen, if you've gotten this far, I really appreciate you listening. But honestly, from this point forward, this is for the fans, the people who know the story. We're going to talk about our favorite parts, our favorite characters, our favorite arcs, what we really like. And if you don't know, me and Nuance are hypercritical people. Not because we want to tear anyone down, but because we want to see, well, obviously we want to talk about the things we nitpick and, for fun, all that stuff about. But generally the things we don't like are the things we are seeing that we don't like, just our opinions. We don't expect Pirateaba to change anything, obviously.
Yeah, we're gonna tell you our thoughts, and if you don't like it, I'm sorry. You know what I mean? We are critical people, and we're going to say what we like and what we don't like. And trust me, we don't agree, but all the time. But we are going to let it out. So if you're going to get in your feelings, this might not be for you. This bit.
We got a long journey ahead of us. Let's go. So first of all, I want to say that Nuance was the one that got me into the Wandering Inn. And I want you to tell us how you found the Wandering, how you got into it, and then I'm going to start asking you some questions from there, and then we'll start working our way from the bottom all the way up to the top where we are with the series now. So yeah, how did you find the Wandering Inn? Where were you? I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was sometime in last year, early 2024, that you found the series.
I want to say, the end of 23, 24. That's what I believe. So, I'm busy. I'm in a time of my life where I'm quite busy, but I also sometimes need to be a little distracted. And I love listening to audiobooks because I don't have a chance to read books anymore. So I love audiobooks. So I listen to a lot of audiobooks. I think I just came off of a series that I was listening to. I was obviously coming off of a series I was listening to. And normally what I do is I go from genre to genre to genre. So lit RPG is a genre that I don't visit a lot because sometimes when it gets too gamey, it's just not for me. Yeah. If I don't want to hear about someone powering up in the middle of a fight, do you know what I mean? Zoom, zoom, zoom. I don't want to hear that. So then I just kind of duck out.
I mean, we have a history of watching how much shonen anime. We've seen the big 3, the big 5. We've seen it done 100 times. So
I don't get excited hearing that in my ears.
Sure.
at
And
this point.
by the way, graphic audio, we've went through so many
Oh yeah,
graphic audio series. We've heard Mistborn and
there's so guys. If we were to sit
actually,
here and
wasn't
tell
it, wait
you,
a minute, wasn't it Cosmere? Wasn't it Brandon
Yeah,
Sanderson
Brandon Sanderson
Cosmere that you
Cosmere.
finished before you got to this?
yeah, I think I'd reread Mistborn. I want to say I can't. There's so many series that I've been through, but I think I reread Mistborn, and I finished for the third time. Yeah, because you know what it's like when you miss a book, and then
They release another.
yeah,
You
to me,
caught up.
yeah, I want to make sure I don't miss anything or I really understand what's happening, and that's what happens with Brandon Sanderson books sometimes. That you know, you read a book, you listen to one of his books, or you read one of his books or whatever, and then if you like take a break and then you pick up the next book, you're going to miss that. And so sometimes you end up going back. So that's what I did with Mistborn. Plus, Mistborn is fucking amazing. And so I'll reread that. There's some books that I reread as Don knows, like Old Man's War. There's some books that I reread just because I love them so much. So I think I was at the end of the Cosmere and I wanted to listen to a lit RPG. I had read The Land, and I know the people that have read The Land, they already know, you know, the last book was abominable and now it's done and gone, you know, but I thought it was really, really good. So I just wanted to read another lit RPG. And I was basically in a group where I find stuff, I look for stuff, and it came up. I read the synopsis, didn't seem anything like crazy because I didn't want anything too serious as well, you know. Because sometimes I think Cosmere, I think it was deep at the end, and I was kind of like, oh, I need something light. So I just wanted something a little bit light, and I read the synopsis of a girl being transported. Yeah, a girl. I read the synopsis, a girl being transported into another world, and I saw the picture of the Wandering, and I was like, yo, this sounds okay. So, and then it started, and I think the reason why the first book didn't bother me so much is because I needed something slow. I just come off of something heavy, so I needed something slow and slice of lifey. You know what I mean? And it actually reminded me, when I read the synopsis, it reminded me of watching anime, to be fair. And it started that way, in a way. So that's what it was. What I will say is, the reason why I got you into this, Don, is because I couldn't work out whether it was shit or good.
You said that, yeah.
I was like, I don't know if this is good, if this is whack. I need somebody else to listen to this to let me know if I've hit gold or
you're tripping.
Oh yeah, I'm tripping down the hill. You know what I mean? Into the bloodfield. So yeah, so that's how it basically started for me.
The Windrunner was the latest book when you gave it to me, book 12. If I'm naming the numbers right.
Yeah.
And I kept on like, why aren't you sure? Because you've never been so indecisive about liking a book or not.
Yeah.
And now that I've read it, I kind of know why. While I was reading it, after you recommended it to me, you were kind of like pushing me along when I was the one having problems.
Yeah, because I was kind of, the reason why I was like, I don't know if this is gold or if this is whack is because the middle bit, the filler, I'm calling it filler, yeah? The long-windedness in between, I needed to get you through it. The reason why people might be like, why did you read book 1 again? It was basically because I gave it to you, to Don. And I felt like, because this is a new genre, I felt like I needed to coax him through it. And I was kind of like, yo, there's bits in here that you just kind of got to get through. You know, and I think what those kind of bits are just like not getting to the point of a situation. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
You just reminded me.
Go on.
You recommended me Rift War first. I was reading the Rift War book, and then you kept on saying, I don't know if it's good. I need you to read it to let me know.
Because I was in a place where shit was popping off, yeah, that was so epic that I was like, this can't be this good. But
in spoilers now, where do you think you were around that time? Do you think it was around the Blood of Liscor? Was it?
I think my favourite parts of the book were like the Blood of Liscor book.
The Cowroos.
Yeah, Cowroos.
And what were they called? The Rascal.
Yeah, Rascal. It wasn't only that, it was the whole dungeon bit, the whole going into the dungeon in the first time.
The dungeon in the
Yeah,
school.
yeah, in the school
Right.
when they
Not
met,
the Skinner time, the
no,
second
when
time.
they met the Skinner time.
Okay.
First,
Yeah.
was like, I don't know if this is. I'm like, this is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
That to me was like crazy. But then
End of the first book.
but then before I was dealing with Ryoka and her running through the blood field.
Ryoka,
and
yeah.
I'm like, if you don't stop talking this bullshit, me and you, I'm gonna end up throwing my phone out the window because I can't hear you talking in your brain about should I, shouldn't I, can I.
You know what? We need to jump on these points as we come across them,
Okay.
so we don't miss them. So let's talk about Erin Solstice and Ryoka Griffin first, okay? So what I found, like I said, is there's Erin stands. People will die for Erin. They think she's a strong woman, all that stuff. And, you know, in the YouTube, like I titled my video specifically to trigger people and to get attention on YouTube. I'm going to, clickbait, whatever. I literally said, The Wandering In, I like this series, but I hate Erin Solstice. Erin Solstice is annoying, but she wasn't annoying in the beginning. The funny thing is, all the things that you're talking about, it never bothered me. The things that bothered me didn't bother you. And that's the funny thing about me and you. Erin, now, a lot of people that can't stand the first book, especially there's a YouTuber called Daniel Green, he reviews a lot of books. Yeah. And he was like, he recorded himself reacting to the first book. Like, why is Erin doing this? I'm just in her head. That never bothered me because the first book, the first original version of the book as well, it just felt like Erin was in survival mode. Yeah. And I found that interesting. I found Erin was just learning and, you know, she wasn't even like some people in anime, they just adapt it like Solo Leveling. The guy he knows what games is, he adapts very quickly. Erin didn't. She was very earnest and I didn't mind that. The thing that broke me with Erin, and I'll fast forward, man, you know, Erin is just a very kind of a black and white person, a bit of a like, but she has this kind of anime cute factor. Oh, she acts all like innocent, but she's a chess player. But I think it's when there was a point in the story where the character turned around and said, I know that I'm annoying. I do this on purpose to manipulate people. Later in the series, she just turned around and admitted that, no, I act ditzy on purpose.
Yeah, she did do that.
But people know I do that on purpose. You know, I play chess. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, it just took away all the like endearment I had for her. I was like, this girl's just a manipulative bitch.
But I don't really think that when she said that, I don't think that's really true. The reason why is because she got schooled later because of that.
But I do believe, I believe that she's aware. This is the thing. I believe her that it's like someone who's running a shop. They're being nice to you, they're being courteous to you, but at the same time, they want you to buy the shit. So they might manipulate you, they might do things. So in the book, I just thought, is she naive? But again,
but that situation that you're talking about kind of developed later on in the book. Do you know what I mean? It weren't nowhere, like you said, it was nowhere near the first book or the second. I think it was.
No, there was book 7 or 8.
Yeah,
but what I'm
when
just
she
saying
became
is,
that way.
It's just retrospectively.
But what really irritated you because you had a problem with Erin to tell you the truth, from day dot, you kind of had a problem with Erin.
No, I didn't.
You didn't have a problem with her
really.
her character, the way she behaved.
It started to green on me. Just her, like, she would always butt her head in. She just seemed like, oh, you don't kill goblins. All that stuff is like, I just felt like her morals didn't seem to make sense sometimes. Like in the first book, she's horribly attacked by a chief goblin, horribly nearly raped by this goblin, very brutal. And she hears about all this stuff goblins do to people. And her feeling sorry for goblins because she can identify the people as well is fine. I understand and I appreciate that. But sometimes she just would do certain insensitive things, like she'll have a goblin there that, you know, I think she'll have Rags there or some of Rags' team that literally attacked a group of humans. Yeah. And then the humans will come and she'll be like, why are you upset with them? It's just certain things like, why are you being, it's just so, she will seem sometimes so empathetic, but at the same time, so selfishly, you need to see my way. My way.
I don't think, that's what I'm trying to say. I don't think Erin is black and white. I think she's in her own box. Yeah. That's what I would say, because I'm not going to say she's a black and white character because she's contradicted herself over and over again as time has gone by. Do you know what I mean? Well,
you're 100% right. I find it hard to formulate why I dislike her. There's a moment, I can tell you the one moment that broke me with Erin. There's a moment.
Right, go on.
There was literally like, I know guys listening, I'm sorry. I know. Please tell me you've read the book before you hear me just whine about random shit going back and forth. There was a scene where Erin was in a completely different town. She was isolated. Well, I'll tell you, yeah.
Oh, I know.
She got fucked over by her skeleton, who she doesn't do, and that was another thing. The way she treated her skeleton.
And that to me was
it was comedy.
funny.
It was epically funny. We'll get there.
Get to your
So
point.
anyway, the scene that brought me Erin, she was in the town.
Yeah.
She was kind of just faffing about helping people, and then she just for like 10 minutes.
I'm so bored.
Listen, I understand in her world of no technology, of course it's boring, and up to this point, I'm like, of course you're bored. There's nothing really going on, and she's done so much. But this shit went on for so long.
But it's so funny you said that, because I felt the same way about when Ryoka ran into the bloodfields and she was talking in her mind forever and ever and ever.
I'll tell you why it didn't bother me in a little bit, but I'm just telling you the scene.
Yeah, go on.
Erin.
Sorry, go on.
And then from that point, in a very long-winded, and Pirateaba wrote this in a very long-winded way, I knew someone was going to come off this boredom and something did. It was at the birth of a whole new job title, which was the actors.
Yeah.
That she gave birth to the actors in this world,
Yeah.
you know, for the most part. They did have something like it, but she formulated it from our Earth type kind of thing. But it took, but
I don't know if she gave birth to it. Let's just put it in the area that she's in. She brought it into that area.
she's, you know what I call
'Cause
Erin?
we don't even know.
Erin did the apple thing. It already existed, but she refined it.
Okay.
And she made it palatable for everyone, and everyone loves it. But it was already there.
Yeah. Somewhere, no, but why I say that is because we don't even know. Well, the funny thing is when we get down to the other side series, that same actory thing comes in, and then you find out that there are those things later on. So that's the reason why I'm like, you can only kind of go by area. So she brought that into that kind of specific.
I'll crystallize my point because I know we could talk for 5 hours about the Wandering In. I just want to say, like you said, Erin constantly contradicts herself. She constantly forces her ideals of morality on people, even when it's at other people's expense. Like you told me there was many times that the voting thing that happened, when there was a vote in the score, where she didn't let a fight break out, and she said because of Mercia.
that was some bull. That's what I'm trying to say. She's not black and white. That was some bullshit.
Yeah, she serves her own manipulative agenda, but she does it in the guise of flowers. Listen, I know, guys, if you love Erin, I understand. I hate her personality, really. Over time, she's grated on me, and I don't find her that interesting anymore. Ryoka, on the other hand, she was a wound-up person with a lot of pain. And like in my YouTube comment in the video I made, I remember someone just said, Ryoka's a psychopath. Who doesn't want to level in this world? Listen, I agree Ryoka was a mean, bitchy person when the book started, yeah? And it's interesting to see her grow and develop and stuff like that. But I just found what she was doing, and because she was so much more like me in terms of how she saw the world, how she's just a little bit more realist, down to earth, and in a real way. She knew the stakes of things that were going on, what she would do, how it would affect the world. Her intelligence really made me like her. Now, the fact that she had, let's just call her, for lack of a better word, the personality of House MD, that's
a good one, yeah.
A really
surly, yeah. Surly's a
attitude,
good one.
But she's very clever and she means well. And, you know, I just found her more interesting. She's not, I don't want to say she's a better, she's a more interesting character than Erin. And I like to say, and I said this in my review, I feel like in some ways, because she's so interwoven into a lot of the plots of the story more than Erin, because she runs to parts of the play, meets all these characters, where Erin, obviously she's stuck in the innkeeper, that's the story, but Ryoka is actively a major part of a lot of what's going on. And she's just so much more interesting. You know, I'm not going to say she's likable, even though she's been through all these emotional and personality changes and stuff like that. I just find her infinitely more interesting and aware of her situation. Her and Erin, to me, are like joint main characters, but Erin's the name of the book, The Wandering In, but Ryoka is so focal to the story, and she does so much, without the pun, running around to join these links together, even with Erin. I just found her very, very engaging, more than anything else.
Yeah, I'm just going to put it down to Erin. I think that Pirateaba has done what she's supposed to do. This is what I think. I think Erin is Marmite. You either love her or you hate her. And I think that's the character that Pirateaba wanted for her, right? And I also kind of feel like, I think you don't like her because it's just not a personality that connects with you. Do you know what I mean? Her personality is not a personality that connects with you. So that's the reason why. And that's the reason why you can flow more to Ryoka. Do you know what I mean? Ryoka's a nonconformist. That's her whole thing. She's a nonconformist.
There's a lot I don't like about Ryoka, by the way.
No, we know that. But as we're talking about Erin, and this is the reason why, like I was saying to you before, that I didn't know whether the writing or the book was good or not, because these moments where Erin was going on, that grated on me too. But I'm so bored. It went on for so long. And because there is so much conversation, it was very unnecessary, to the point where I think I just fast forwarded 10 seconds because I couldn't hear her go on and on and on about that. But to me, I kind of just accepted Erin for who she was at the point.
No, I do now. I just ignore her now.
But the problem is that I have is the fact that Erin is only like that for a portion of the book. Her character doesn't continually do what it's doing.
True.
In the first 8 books to now. Do you see what I mean? So at the point from the beginning to like the end of the Lescaut books, I'll say, the character that Erin was annoying to a point, but, you know, I saw a little bit of a stratagem. I wouldn't say stratagem. I see her strategizing a little bit, and I enjoyed the fact that she had like chess and the whole thing.
Do you know what? You just actually made me crystallize. I know what one thing made me hit Erin.
Go on.
It was the door. When she got that door, and when she started jumping cities and showing people she can do this and all, something about the way she started carrying when she got that door.
It rubbed you the wrong way.
It rubbed me, and it was the door, because that door obviously, you know. But
I feel like if the door is not in.
No, I love the door.
Yeah, the door. Like I think when we were talking, I was like, boy, something gonna come in.
No, I love.
And if it's not that, you know, it makes the whole thing different. You know what I mean? I think what I would say is that the first 8 books or 9 books, I saw Erin as a bit more of a strategist. Yeah, even the way that she reacted to the things that happened in the what do you call it?
The underground lounge, the score done.
Yeah, the score done. All the things that she was, there was a strategy towards it in a way. Do you know what I mean? And I kind of respected that kind of thing. She seemed like she had a path. I felt like I could understand who she was or where she was going with where she was. Do you see what I mean? As the books went on, though, I started getting lost in what her actual place is.
Yeah.
You know, that's where I started to get problems with. I started to find like issues with. It's not about her turning around saying, because there's some people in the world that want to use their cutesiness to get what they want.
Yeah.
There's all types of people in the world, right? So and I saw her as that kind of person where she wants to say, well, I know that I'm dumb, but that's fine. People think I'm dumb, but I'm not. I just thought, well, girl, use what you want to use, innit? If you want to act like that, that's fine. If it works, it works. But when it got later to the books, I started to feel like her identity kind of got lost. I didn't know what her place was. I've repeated myself, but I didn't really know what her place was. So her character didn't irritate me. And to tell you the truth, when Ryoka came in and they finally met, that balanced out Erin for me, because Ryoka, and that's why I really liked the writing style, because Ryoka came along and was like, why are you telling people about this, that? And Erin's like, well, I don't really know. I guess you're right. And then Ryoka's like, what's wrong with you, fool? You know what I mean? And I liked that because it kind of balanced out.
Perfectly. They're great friends. I really like them together.
At that point, it balanced it out for me. So, and also I kind of feel like...
It's like good cop, bad cop with them.
Yeah.
Too.
And I also feel like Erin's empathy at that point was needed, especially for the Antinium.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially for that, you know? And when it comes to the goblins, I think you and I had issues with the goblins to begin with. So I think certain things that you're talking about, because as we are going back and forth, one of the things that none of us liked about the way that Erin carried on was when Mersha came in. And Mersha, you know, Ryoka came back and she's telling you about everything that's happened to her. Girls lost fingers, you know what I mean? Nee lost her life. Mersha lost her whole family, And she's telling you this, and you seem to empathize, but that's not taking you out of your box of thinking to the point where that she's saying, I can't have this trauma around me. It's a little baby. You know, I'm traumatized. She's traumatized. We don't want them here right now. And Erin's like, sorry, not sorry. It's going to happen anyway. The goblins are going to live in the inn. And that's the reason why I'm going to say she's not black and white. She's in her box. You know what I mean? With her way of thinking, because it changes and day by day, or let's say hour by hour, because I don't even know when it comes to wandering in. But because that point that you made about me saying that when they were doing the voting, she turned around and she was like, oh, I don't want to fight. I stopped to fight because I don't want Mersha to be involved. You know what I mean? In the fight, I was like, girl, what are you talking about? 5 minutes ago, you didn't mind Mersha being in the Wandering Inn with goblins. You didn't mind Mersha ran away just 5 minutes ago and went into the dungeon and all this shit. You didn't mind nothing like that. But now all of a sudden, you don't want to stop a fight. So that's why she's not black and white. She's in her own box of thinking, and it can be irritating to listen to her kind of go back and forth with the way she thinks. So
yeah. Listen, there's a lot of people that would ride for Erin, and again, I said I hate Erin. I hate her personality. I don't really hate her. I respect a lot of things she's done. She's a survivor. She made a great business, and you know, watching her do things like make burgers and the recipe getting stolen and using Minotaur punch and stuff like that. She's cute. It's cool. It's funny. I said this in my discussion. She's a rallying point with any story. You have a rallying point, especially with anime. You have these dumb main characters like Goku, Luffy, which they're not that interesting, but they're a focal point that everyone...
Luffy's interesting. I know what you're talking about Luffy not interesting. What's that?
Yeah, no. Out of all the characters, some people would argue Luffy is the least interesting other than Zoro or Sanji or some of the other ones, you know, generally speaking. But again, that's just me. Other people say, I love Erin. What the fuck are you talking about? People want me, Erin's a queen, Erin's a boss. There was one book, The Witcher Webs. I was reading the reviews. Yeah. People was like, there was no Erin in this book. Where was Erin? If you like Ryoka, you're going to love this book. This is the Erin hating book. There was no Erin here.
Lord have mercy.
And I was like, yeah, that was probably the only book that had the least amount of Erin in it. And it's true. It was mostly Ryoka and the
And
witches.
we have issues with that book, though. Yeah, the reason why, you know, we have issues with the fact that we've said before that we feel like that whole witches book should have actually been a side story and not part of the main story.
We spent a lot of time talking about Erin and Ryoka, but let's just talk about characters on the whole, what we feel about them, just so we can fill it out, because I know a lot of people...
hard not to talk about... We spoke about Erin, we didn't really speak about Ryoka, but it's hard not to talk about them in detail because they're so deep.
Ryoka's very down-to-earth, like a realistic, smart person who understands the ramifications of what her being transported from this world to that world could be, and I just found her infinitely more interesting, but very surly, especially in the, you know, someone who doesn't want to level in the magical world. It seems like self-defeatist, but then that whole part you spoke about her going into herself, the thing about that part, I thought it was very early in the series for her to have that mental breakdown.
Yeah.
Because later, a lot of shit happened to Ryoka. That thing, you would think that thing would happen later, because after that mental, that's the second book.
But then you find out that the reason why she was going back and forth like that is because she was under a spell.
Okay.
That was the reason why she was going back and forth like that, because it was like, should she go forward? Should she go back? Should she go forward? And then you find out that she was under a kind of spell.
Well, I know her memories some of her memories have been removed as well.
Yeah, and she was because why have I forgotten?
The dragon?
Yeah.
Was it Teriarch?
Teriarch. Yeah. Teriarch had put her under a kind of spell to go and deliver.
Sure.
So I think she was, if I remember correctly, she was in two minds. As should I go forward? Should I go not? Should I go forward? And then she kind of broke it.
Yeah. That's right. She was fighting to get to compulsion.
But it was so hard to listen to because it went on for so long. And then again, I'm going to jump a little bit and say, sure, that's where I have issues, because like the blood fields, when you read further on, you're kind of like, it makes you, and you find out what happens in the blood fields. Yeah. You kind of like, how's Ryoka running through blood fields and she's fine? And then, and then in book 14, people are getting massacred left and right, and to the point where they've leveled up so much they've literally become omni-gods in some places. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like, it's so bizarre to me that the writing will go for Ryoka's running through the blood fields and barefoot,
Mm.
you know, and she's fine. And now we've gone all the way to here, and now this has become some, like, what can we call it? Some like masochistic. It even smells you, and it can grow and destroy you. It just it's not, the maths ain't mathing.
Let's talk about Pirateaba's writing, because again, this is a very slice of life story. You're living with Erin in the score, outside the score, and you get to see the day in life, the the daily struggles of all these different species living together and their biases and stuff like that. But then you get to, especially in the first book, you just get to enjoy Erin. You get to enjoy listening to Erin survive and then understand about the language. And I will say, the one thing I really enjoy about The Wandering Ing, for a book that's set with game mechanics, I feel they use quite sparingly, and that the character development is always front and center. But the development is drowned in, they're living in the scenes, they're living with you can be in one place for 12 hours just. And it's good that you're living there. It gives you a deeper connection when things go wrong, because when shit pops, like with the action and the horror, it really shifts. You know what I mean? And it's like, wow, what am I reading? It gets you engaged, but then it pulls you. It's kind of like being in a rainstorm, and then it just ends, and then there's sunshine it's got London weather. It's dreary for most of the time, and all of a sudden something happens.
10 minutes of sun, and then you're back.
Yeah.
I think her writing, it's a deep one, because
how do you think it's developed over the books? Because in the first book, until the end with the Skinner and the temple thing, that's when the things kick off. The second book, I think that's the Fairy and the Fae one, where Ryoka and the Fairy and that drama. Do you feel like when you overlook these 14 books, if you looked at it like a sound wave going up and down, do you think there's massive inconsistency? Every book is not bad, or how do you feel looking back on it now?
It's really hard to say how I feel about that. The reason why is, let me think. I kind of feel like as we've gotten deeper into the books, I feel like the length of what can I call it? Like the slice of life, everyday life, it's just got longer, and it's become harder for me to listen to. Sometimes I think, is it because, has it always been like that? That it's been like so lengthy in between the action parts, that now I'm just so tight. Like now I've had enough, and I'm like, get to the point.
Well, this is why I always compare nowadays this series to One Piece, because again, Pirateaba's super skilled writer. I keep on having to say this, but just like Brandon Sanderson as well, when you start introducing more and more and more characters, and you're writing this epic story called The Wandering Ing, you start to want to like stay in one place. Like, for example, by the time you get to book, like I said, let's say the first two books center around Erin and Ryoka and the fairies, but then at some point, the book will jump to something like Floss.
Yeah. And I don't know why you brought up Floss, because Floss is the hardest one. I think if we're going to talk about, we are really going all over the place. If you're really going to talk about the characters in the book and how they're introduced, in the beginning, it's really interesting, right? When she starts bringing in new characters, it's kind of, because obviously it's the beginning of the book. So you want to know foundationally, who am I going to be listening to? Who am I going to be you want to know. You want to know what this book is about, who's in the book. What happens is that the characters never stop. The characters never stop coming.
And that was one of my problems with when I was reading the book. Every book started to introduce more characters, 3 or 4. By the time I got to book 8, and then they introduced, I'm just going to say their formation name. What are they called? The health guys? They call themselves the United Nations.
United Nations,
they call themselves United Nations. By that time, you've got, and again, correct me because I can't even remember all of the clusters of characters as they come through. But then you've got the United Nations, you've got Floss, you've got the Reinhardts, you've got the Goblins, you've got the bad guys, which I'm not going to mention by name, who they don't jump to them a lot. Then you've got River Farm, you've got the different ward cities, you've got Niers of Astorium and his students.
Yes.
Then near the end of where we are, you've got the witches. Then you've got Floss's thing starts to expand near the end as well.
Well, Floss comes in, if I remember correctly, at the beginning. Floss is one of the characters that comes in the first 1 or 2 books, if I remember
I
correctly.
feel like he comes in book 3.
I don't believe he does.
I think he does. But in this re-release, he comes in book 1.
Maybe we need to check that fact, but I believe that. I remember Floss comes in early because I was irritated.
Well, here's another thing I want to put out there for the listeners. Now, because this was taken from a web serial, when they chop it up into the books on Audible, I wonder if they rearrange things. Because I feel like they have to. Like now that they've re-released his first book, they've brought Floss, his story, into the beginning. But the difference is, when Floss came into the first time he heard Floss, he had already awoken. But in this re-release of the Wandering Inn, you now see the actual awakening point when he didn't wake up.
Okay, so you see him wake up.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, which is what they added in this one, which gives everyone a jumping off point, which is a clearer direction. That's why I said it does clarify, you listen, hopefully, you know what I'm saying. But, you've got all these clusters of characters now, and even and now we've got a side story as well with Cara, the singer of Gravesong and whatnot. I found myself wanting to stay, and again, this is the problem when you have epic stories with so much characters. You start to wonder when is the author going to focus on what you want to read.
And this is the thing, because I would assume, if I'm reading a series, if I'm reading a long series, I would kind of assume that by book 2, the characters are solidified in one way or another. You know what I mean? If I'm reading an 8-book series, I would normally assume that, I would assume that by the end of book 1, maybe middle of book 2, all the characters are kind of, I know who I'm reading.
Sorry to stop you. I just want to say, Andrea Parsneau, I do feel sorry for you, because in the last 3 books we've read, we've been introduced like 3 whole new sets of characters. Yeah. We've learned about, we're dealing with the Witcher Webs. We've got these Knights of Seasons. Yeah. We've got Hunters. Yes. Which is a whole.
Yeah, that's another conversation.
A whole big thing. When Floss is doing his reawakening army thing, we're being introduced to people against him. Yeah. And obviously, the biggest elephant in the room, Wistrom.
Yeah. It's a lot. And this is, but the thing is that this is what I'm trying to say, that I'm sure that in the first 2.
Hell, clown, the clown from hell.
Let's not do that.
How many characters is that?
That's what I'm trying to say. I feel like I was saying, that if I was going by a general rule, I would assume that after the first book, I would have got all the characters, mostly the second, if I'm just reading the general series, and then I would assume
which is what she's in the first book. They've kind of fixed that by showing everyone in the first book, so that was a good change.
All right, so then I would also assume that if it's like a series, like 8 books or whatever, that I would expect new characters to come in maybe later on, halfway through. That's what would normally happen. Like halfway through a big series, you might get 1 or 2 extra characters, as it progresses. The issue that we're having here is that, like you're saying, the characters just keep on coming. And
we live with them. It's not like One Piece where we stay on the boat and we move. Sometimes we're with them for a long time.
And you know what? I know you're comparing this partly to One Piece because we have filler in between in One Piece, but there's a difference, because when you're watching One Piece, you know it's coming. You kind of know that the filler's coming. They've gone to an island and they're getting used to the island, and you're warming up to the area, and you know it's coming. But
One Piece doesn't even move. One Piece doesn't move from Luffy into the other character though. So you're right. Comparing it to One Piece isn't fair. I'm just saying that the amount of characters in One Piece, Yeah,
but I'm not even talking about the characters. I'm just talking about the filler. I call it filler. I'm talking about the filler bit,
Sure.
Because this is the issue that we have, right? So
the parts that are not moving the story.
Yeah, the parts that are getting us see, this is the difference, because with One Piece, you're getting used to the land, you're getting used to the island, you're getting used to everything. So then when the villain comes in or whoever comes in, you know the whatever. That's not happening in The Wandering Inn. What's happening in The Wandering Inn is you're listening to a character and you're listening to their story, and the next minute, the doctor. Next minute, Floss. next minute, and then you're like, okay, I'm coming.
Yeah.
You're coming left now. You're coming right. So you kind of feel like you're getting boxed from each side, and you don't know what's coming next. Yeah. And then the problem, and the other thing that progresses from that is, then the character comes in, and then you're going to hear all the filler in one go about that character.
True.
Straight away. You're not gonna get You're gonna hear the character's shoes, the tights, what they're wearing. You're gonna hear everything. You're not gonna get. Sometimes it feels like you've got used to a character that you're listening to for a while. You're used to them, and you're getting into it, and you've warmed up, and you're fine. And then she'll throw somebody else in, or they'll throw in somebody else like Floss. And I keep on bringing up Floss because Floss was a big issue for me.
The thing, and I'm glad you brought this up. All the other characters that intermingle with the story, Floss felt like a foot that came down from the heavens to stomp in.
I'm telling
you. And even Andrea Parsneau, in her interview that we saw, she said that Floss bit was so long it destroyed her voice.
Well, it wouldn't, because Floss's voice is ridiculous.
Yeah, his voice
Number
was,
one.
yeah, great voice. Great.
Amazing, but ridiculous. Yeah, I don't know how you're going to reach low. I don't know where you're reaching low in your stomach to make that voice. You get me? Because that is some horse. I wouldn't want to speak to no one for a week. After that, I wouldn't want to speak for a long, long time, because that's a voice and a half. But also, I think Floss's story was not the best story. It wasn't the best story for me. And where it came in the book wasn't the best place.
Let me tell you something. Floss's story is the first story I wish was his own story.
No, I think Floss's story was the first story I wish I don't want this.
No, sure. But I'm just saying, because it started from the bottom, the beginning. Like a lot of the other characters, like for example, a lot of the other characters might be other human characters being dumped in. And seeing that perspective is interesting because you already know a human being being dropped in this fantasy world. You kind of know how they're adapting to it frantically or running away. So when that happens in the book, that was the normal shift. But when the book, for me, moved to establish characters in this world, and like you said, let's just say they moved to Savara.
Savara.
Let's say, and Savara's not a good idea because every time I see Savara, I like her.
Yeah, you can't bring Savara, but we're still in Erin's land. Then.
Yeah.
If you're bringing in Savara,
all right, let's go to the other land.
That.
What's the other one that never helped the score when it was under siege?
Palace.
Was that Palace?
Yeah.
You went to. There was a whole scene where everyone went to Palace, and she had a tour, and she went up the escalator, and she met all these weapon people and all that, and it was. We was getting to see the other world, the other world city. But then, I just kind of zoned out a bit.
I think for me, even with that, I will still class that as Erin's Adventures.
Sure, it was.
I kind of feel like when we are jumping from, and I don't really want to say, because it's one of my favorite parts when I got into it. But when you're dealing with Wistrom.
Yeah.
And then...
Was it the flashback?
Yeah, and then when you're dealing with the Halls of Hammerod, and you're dealing with the whole Wistrom story, you're looking at the backstory, and then you'll jump from Wistrom, now you're invested and now you're into it, and then you jump to the Doctor, you're kind of like, what? Take me back to where I was, because you've warmed me up. This is the thing. I feel like you get warmed up to a character, you get warmed up to a situation, and then you get jumped or bumped to somebody else. But out of all of the ones that was the most painful, it will be Floss for me. Floss was the most painful to listen. Floss was the one where I was listening and I was like, yo, I need to go back to where I was. Like, I want to fast forward this story because I don't want to know. Like, you are not interested. I will say,
for someone called the King of Destruction, the more I've got to know him, I'm like, the name.
And this is the thing.
The name kind of overblown. And so, such a soft-hearted guy.
And this is the thing with that, because it got to a point with me where I'm like, okay, either this is really bad writing, or you're messing with us. Yeah, you're like, because, or you're trying to see things. And then I thought maybe what it is that you're trying to make us see things from a different perspective. Because let's talk about Floss, yeah? We're jumping, but let's talk about Floss. So as far as we're concerned, or the way that Floss is perceived by the people, is really he should be an enemy. He's not a good person.
That's they make him seem like an evil conqueror.
Yeah, like he's an evil conqueror, right? But then when you get into Floss's world and you get into all of the people around him and the way he treats the twins and all that kind of stuff, he's a puppy dog. You're kind of like, what the hell is this? Yeah, I'm the king of destruction. Of what? Your bed? I don't know, of sleep? Why are you Where's the king of destruction? This whole, because, and then while I'm listening to it, I'm like, like, why is she going on like this is some demon? Do you know what I mean? Acid spewing guy, when really he's like a puppy dog that's crying over people that he's lost.
God, my pee-pee.
Oh, I just love them all. Oh, I will do anything for my people, I'm kind of like, yo, I thought you were like some guy who slices up people, man. I thought you were smashing heads, you know what I mean? But instead, it's kind of like, is this a facade? Or are you trying, it's a facade. Or is this like, are you trying to make us see a different perspective where people have seen, that kind of thing where people think a person's a tyrant and actually they're not?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Is this kind of like or a story where people like think that someone's wicked, and maybe when you look underneath the surface, I don't know why I brought up that, because
No, it's fine.
But somebody who's like under the surface, not a bad person, and then I kind of got confused by it. Do you know what I mean? And then you've got like the omniscient Ghazi, who I love the name, right? And you're just she wicked. She ain't the best person, and it would make sense that she would follow. When you hear about her, Ghazi, before you see the king of destruction, you would think, well, that makes sense that she would follow a king like that, somebody who is trying to destroy and take over the whole world. But then when you meet the king of destruction, you're kind of like, this don't match up. So why am I listening to this guy? You know what I mean? And you've taken me out of a story that's amazing that I'm listening to. And I can't remember if it was Wistrom, which took me ages to get into as well. But they took us out of a situation. I'm sure it was Wistrom.
After the Pisces and Seeya flashback to
you
Wistrom.
took us out of that
Yeah.
to him. And I'm just kind of like,
wherever it was dropped in, it was jarring. And here's the thing. We can argue, again, this is our personal, like what we don't like. Some people could say that, I love those stories. I love Floss. Here's the thing. I just feel like Pirateaba's intrusion a lot, yeah? And you can't please everyone, and you got to figure out how to manage your time. Perfect example of this is The Clown. There's a story about a clown. In the 16 books, he's only made like 3 appearances. Very small. I mean, he probably had 6 hours free time or something like that. But in the grand scheme of things, a lot of other characters have had a lot more time.
Yeah.
And, and I'm just like, if you're going to start introducing more and more characters, but then it's like, this is why I remind myself, this is a webcomic. This is someone who's pouring all their different ideas into one story. It's someone who's building the universe. It's, it reminds me of, it's like, imagine if someone wrote the DC universe all at once. They didn't introduce you to just Superman or Batman or Wonder Woman, and they started jumping around the universe and
like the Flash.
Yeah, and introducing more. And obviously, it's not all gonna slap. Somebody's like, I really like that Batman stuff, but then this other stuff, and that's what I feel like it's getting. And this is where we're gonna do some more jumping. And this is why I was really surprised when I heard she was creating a whole new separate book series in the same universe, but releasing it separately. And this is the singer of Terandria or Cara. I'm just going to call it the grave song.
I know you want to go there, but I feel like we haven't done some of the stories before we talk about.
The reason, I'm just saying that I found it interesting that she decided this story is the one she sectioned off.
Okay.
That's what I want to say first. When we're talking about a world where you're just adding more characters, more stories, but then this Cara story is the one that you've decided, just like The Walking Dead has its main story, and now it's siphoned off into 4 different series, or, starting. She's got the graphic novel 10 in one story, she's got this side book, and I don't know if she's going to do more. And, Pirateaba has a blog, by the way, where she talks about her personal, and I have read 1 or 2 of her blog posts talking about it. And I know, like you said, we're going to talk about more, but I'm just already looking at it like, I don't know where this is all going. There's a point.
Yeah, so the problem is, what you're trying to say basically is which characters deserve their own side story and which deserve to be in the franchise.
I didn't think any of them. Here's the thing. I was surprised she even sectioned off one altogether, because so many stories in The Wandering Ing is worthy of its own book.
Yeah, but
whether I like them or not. Like Floss, for example, I think he could have been his own.
I don't think he would have worked as his own book. And I don't think that would have worked as his own book. No, I don't think so. I think that with Floss, it takes a long time to warm up. And then when you do warm up and you get into his world, it's palatable. It's not the greatest story, but it's fine, right? But as a standalone story, I can't see you reading that. I can't see you reading or listening to that. I can't see you doing that because it's not that interesting.
I'm not saying, I'm just saying it could have been. Like a lot of, if you had to section off certain characters, like the clown could have been its own story, right? Would you agree?
I mean,
the witch's whole thing could have been its own book series.
100%. That should have been its own series.
Yeah.
I don't even think it should have.
Here's another one that might have been its own series: River Farm, Lakeham.
Well, you're going back to the witches again, then, innit?
No, I'm just saying the idea of the blind man becoming an emperor and raising the town with his troll wife or troll paladin is so interesting on its own.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That when we're listening to one book and it's jumping, I'm like, you know what? I feel like she's wasting some of her good ideas, putting them all in one.
I just don't feel like we needed to have every single, like we're getting to the point where.
Well, that's why I'm saying the same thing.
We are jumping the same way that this book jumps. You know that, right? We are literally jumping. Like, I kind of feel like, do we need to have every single superhuman, super beast, super powered? Like, we got werewolf. Have we got werewolves here? We got trolls. We got witches. We've got demon hunt. No, we've got vampire hunters. We got vampire.
Oh yeah, I forgot about them. Sorry, vampires.
Yeah, vampires. We got vampire hunters. We got like, I'm just like, boy, what else are you gonna put on this pizza?
Caesar.
Yeah, we've got
lions.
You know, trolls.
Necromancers.
You know, and so it gets to a point where
dragons.
Dragons. I think fairies. It gets
By the way,
gods. We got gods, whether we like it or not.
There's one thing we're even talking about. Of all the stuff we're talking about is the stuff we're reading. There's stuff that we're not being told, like the teleportation of humans is like the underpinning to everything. Why is this happening? Obviously, we have theories. There's one part of the book is it's a ritual. For one part, we know that it's a ritual being done by, but for the other, that hasn't been confirmed. Then there's this whole thing about she's starting to introduce things that makes you wonder, but not finishing them off, like Erin and their parents, and they're not remembering. Like, it seems like Ryoka and the fairies alluding to something to do with the dead gods and levels. So there's all these overarching themes and ideas that are being alluded to, but then you've got all these characters coming in, and now we've got a new side story. You know what I mean?
Two new side stories. And sometimes a story inside that story, inside that side story, that could be its own story.
And then I got to the point, and sorry because I'm jumping around, I got to the point where, you know, this was probably around book 12 or 13. Witcher Webs was a perfect example of, I thought that book was a hard read in a way, but I thought the story was phenomenal. I thought the way Pirateaba writes the backstories and the trauma is engaging, and I really do like it. But it's very long.
Yeah, it is.
And I was like, why? When I saw her separate Cara's story from the whole one in releases, I'm like, was this really better than a Witcher story?
But this is what I think. I think what we've both said is that Cara's story would have fit more
in
into
the Wandering
Inn than like the Witch's story, some of the other stories. And let's go back to we're gonna do favorite characters, but let's go back to one of my favorite stories, and it is the clown. You know what I mean? It is absolutely the clown. And I kind of, you said that could have been a good side story. That could have been a good story on its own. Nah. You know why? Because that's meat. There ain't no bone in that story. It's meat. And it is one of the, that was one of the stories where I was thinking in my head, is this genius or is this not? Because the way the clown was written, the story writing, that arc, the development, out of a lot of the books that I've listened to and I've read, I have not heard something written like that. It was written in a beautiful way. Yeah. And it just made me think like, wow, there's parts of the way that Pirateaba writes that makes me, that's why I said that this could be
a first class.
like
Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame, because when you listen to a story like that, it's so, if I took that out alone and said, if I just took that and I said, listen to this, just listen, you would have been like, bam. That could have been turned into an anime. You know that.
That really hurts that something like that is buried in these.
But it was so meaty.
No, it was great. But I'm just saying, how does it feel like some of these great stories are buried within hundreds of hours of stream of consciousness writing? Lakem, his whole thing was, it got to a point where just as good as that one part of the clown. Lakem is one of my favorite characters, top 3 characters. Everything about him is great. How he came into the world, his rise, the way his personality, the way he's come into his own, what he's done for the land, the world.
Yeah.
It's just so exciting.
And where he actually came from, his mentality, the way that he made his character, I guess, well, we call it character, his leveling, the way he actually
the way he created,
manifested
his class.
Yeah, he manifested his class, and the way that whole happened. But you see, when you look at that, and then Lakem explains why and how he decided he wanted to be an emperor, it make you know that Pirateaba has done her research. You know that she's done.
Well, here's the thing about Pirateaba. Let's jump to Pirateaba the writer, because I think it'll be easy to do that from here. You know, I don't know. Obviously, Pirateaba. What we know, we've watched one of her interviews she had with a YouTuber. Is it Matt's book review, something like that? I put it in the description, maybe. She said that she obviously uses an alias to protect herself. She was writing for years. She seems like someone who had a lot of stories.
Yeah.
And the Wandering In is a magnum opus where she's putting all of her collector stories in one universe. And I'm sure that's why I always kind of bring One Piece up, because as we watch One Piece over the years, he's gone from island to island, different people, different ideas. Not even as, look, I know people probably go, oh, what's talking about to One Piece? I'm just using it as a jumping off point, because Pirateaba has shown a different level of creativity and has gone further with her genres, vampires and trolls and all this. It's very, very different. I'm just saying, variety-wise, it's very engaging.
You know what? I will just say that the problem with the characters is that we ain't getting a box of chocolates. We're getting a land of chocolates. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's so many characters that it's becoming overwhelming. That's how I feel.
Yeah,
it's becoming overwhelming. And then I'm having an issue. Like, we haven't really broken down the characters. We are going to break down the characters we like and what we don't like. Sure. Because maybe that might be easier. Sure. Because we are jumping around. But I feel like it's in the vein of the way the book works.
Yeah, it's cathartic, because you get to the point in the book, like, especially when you get in the middle. And here's another thing, like, the book says it's volumes, but one of the things that we discussed when we was done is that when we look at the length of time that's actually passed in the story, when you get to where we are, is only about, I think it's about a year.
Yeah, we've decided we're not doing volumes. We say chapters.
Yeah, because every book feels like a chapter.
It does.
Not a book.
Well, you said it. The length of time, like the things that happen within a length of time, sometimes it's a week. Like, bro, come on, man. A week?
Yeah.
This all happened in a week.
Let me give you an example that will crystallize this point. Let's talk about the Horns of Hammerod. The original and then the new version.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. When the Horns of Hammerod are introduced and Ryoka runs into them for the first, they're a team of different species, human, half-elf, what's Calrus's race? Minotaur.
Minotaur, yeah.
So, shit goes down with them. Bad shit. I'm not even going to get into, even though I could. I'm not going to get into something horrible, and the team is almost annihilated. Almost completely annihilated, yeah? Now, within the year we're talking about, me and you want to talk about reading all 14 books, yeah? They've gone from one team being annihilated to forming a new team of completely different people, by the way, except for one person, going on like 3 different adventures with that new... and by the way, sorry, let me emphasize something. When the team was almost annihilated...
I don't know why you're saying almost. They were gone. Right. There was one person left.
When the Horns of Hammerod was annihilated in book 1 or 2, yeah, the trauma of that annihilation was so devastating, yeah, it would just put people off living. But this is a team that reformed, yeah, and the way they reformed was... I'm not criticizing the way they reformed, anything like that. I'm just saying the passage of time makes no sense because
if you want to talk about
so much things happen to the new team or the development, and even where we've ended now on book 15, they have crystallized, they've reached a whole new level, and all of this shit happened in the span of a year.
But I've got even a better example than the one you're giving. Yours was good, but mine is better.
Oh.
Okay? Let's talk about the Goblin War. The actual Goblin War.
Feels like there was two of them.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about them attacking Luscore.
Yeah.
The passage of time, them running towards Luscore, them gathering all the goblins together, getting into Luscore, trying to destroy Luscore, the big fight, everything that happened.
There was a book where they were being marched.
Yeah,
there
that's what
was
I'm
a
talking
book
about.
where
I
they
think
were just
running,
being
but let's do the march to Luscore.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
forced march.
The forced march to Luscore, get into Luscore, the battle at Luscore,
Yeah.
the annihilation of the land around Luscore, then everybody rising up, then the whole the Walking Dead Luscore, the Walking Dead goblins, all of that,
The
that
death
rise
of the
up,
zombie
the
goblins.
death,
Yeah.
everything that happened with Erin being in her room crying. Do you know what I mean? Our favourite goblin, his name just went right out of my head. Numtum being in the
life and times of Garen Redfang.
Redfang. Look, Garen. Come on,
oh
man.
my God.
Come on. Right, all of that. What was a space of time, bruh? I want to say...
Well, that was half of the book. I think that was half of what we read.
That space in the book, I want to say we're going to have to check facts. But I think the space of time was like...
7 months, maybe.
No, it was weeks. What are you talking about, months?
Oh, sorry.
It was weeks. I don't even know if it was 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It was a really short period of time.
I think the reason why
Erin was in her house for like a week.
Yeah.
She was, in her house. Erin was in the inn for like a week. And then, you might have to check. Erin was in her house for like a week or so. And then, she don't want to eat, she don't want to do that. And we're out there killing the goblins. And within like a week or two, she's back to her normal self. I'm just like, and all the goblins that have been killed and picked up. And and I'm just like, how does that work? How? And Laken running back the goblins that he took back to his town. You're kind of like, how does that work?
Right. So the reason that you listeners might think, why are you guys banging on about the passage of time? Let me bring this into real life. So, The Wheel of Time, the book series by Robert Jordan, I think that's his name. That was one of the longest book series of all time. Prior to, it's in like the top 5 longest series of all time, yeah? So The Wandering Inn, the books that we're talking about today, it's over nearly 5 million words.
5 million words?
5 million words. If we compare that to The Wheel of Time, The Wheel of Time, including its prequel book, is 4.4 million words. And this is a book that spans over 5 years. Now, the reason why we're banging on about this is just because when you've read so much hours, so many words, you just wonder how much time has passed. And that's against all other books. The Wheel of Time, Brandon Sanderson, Cosmere, they're all comparable. We've been listening to this longer than The Wheel of Time. And it's only been a year in the world that it's set in. And it's kind of like, damn. And it's because you've introduced so many characters and you live in the story for so long. And that's where it's kind of like, okay, it just feels weird.
Well, supposedly, I wanted to check. It was supposedly over several weeks. But it's not specific, the timeline.
Okay.
And those are the issues that we have. Because if you're talking about a situation like that whole the Goblin War, I'm calling it the Goblin March. If you're talking about a situation where anybody that's read it knows the amount of things that went on then, like with Rags, the fights, the trauma, the goblins, everything that went on, and then you get to Luscore, and then it's a massive massacre of goblins to the point where they're trying to get into Luscore because they try to save it. All of that kind of stuff. If all of this stuff happens, and then all the deaths and, Red Fang, everything, Garen and everything that happens, and then all of this trauma that's happened, and then you get over that trauma. That's like within several weeks, supposedly within several weeks, and then the protagonist is over it within a week. How does that work?
To be completely fair, you know, these audiobooks have been running since 2019. We're now in 2025. We've listened to all the books in a year.
Yeah.
So obviously our sense of time is skewed as well. We haven't been listening to them as they've been released. But we've listened to the last 3 books, we've listened to them as they've come out. And even the passage of time in them has been very distracting on how much you want the story to progress. You know, Pirateaba herself has said this series could go on for like 40 years.
Okay, but you know, the thing is that I don't think we've read, what did you say? How many books have we read now?
16.
16 books. And I don't think it's been a year yet.
Yeah, it's been about, it hasn't been, it's about a year. It's about. In the time of the story. Yeah.
In the Wandering Inn, it had, okay, we've just hit a year. Because I remember Erin talking about her birthday. Yeah. I think she was talking about her birthday or something like that. Like she's been, I think it's near enough been a year. But the amount of destruction that has happened, how are you getting over that in a year? How is, like, Liscore has been destroyed. Like, let's talk about Skinner. Come on, man. He got into the city.
He killed teams. He killed lots of teams. He killed innocents. He did damage to some of our main characters. They're still living through it.
So, yeah, exactly. They're still going through the trauma of that. But yeah, it's not even been a year.
And by the way, that dungeon hasn't even been fully explored. Let alone when they went deeper and found the Calroos and the Rascal and all that stuff.
But all of that stuff that has happened has happened in less than a year.
Yeah.
We're saying that we're hitting a year now, and all of it, look, we're talking about Skinner, we're talking about the dungeon, we're talking about
the face mask guy.
There's
a new guy.
Character.
He's a face stealer.
Yeah, face stealer. We're talking about the Rascal. We're talking about all of these other things that I know that I've missed out. Oh, the moths.
Face eater moths.
The face eater. Even that alone. The stuff that has happened
let's
in
talk about the new villains machine, the Bloodfields, whatever those were.
Boy, let's not, because they were the same villain.
What they weren't? I can't remember what they are.
Oh, I can't remember what they were called. No. Because they've got levels as well.
Yeah. We just found out about. I can't remember what they were called.
That's going to irritate me because it's really important.
You keep talking, I'll Google it. Go on.
All right. I kind of feel like the amount of stuff that's... You know what this reminds me of, actually? Do you remember that series, Pillars of the Earth?
Yep. With Eddie Redmayne.
Yes. You remember how many times they kind of destroyed the town? And it got to a point, if anybody hasn't read the book or watched the series, it's kind of old, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pillars of the Earth. Kind of old, but it's fantastic, really great. The amount of times they destroyed the town, it got to a point where you're like, bruh, like just flatten it, because you've destroyed it so many times. I don't see how it can be rebuilt. I don't even know how the bricks are still there, how there's bricks there. And it's got to the point with the Wandering Inn and the School that there's so much that has happened in such a short period of time. You just start feeling like, how are you getting over this trauma? You're recognizing the trauma, fine. You're recognizing this is fucked up, this shit happened, this fucked up. You're recognizing that you've got a villain that pulls off people's skin. It reminds me of Devilman. You know, you remember Devilman when...
one of my favorite animes.
I remember when one of the villains, is it the main villain in Devilman? He steals people and they go into his skin.
Oh, Jinman. Jinman was a shield. He had the shell.
Right.
Jinman, yeah.
It kind of reminds me
We're talking about the old OVA from 1980. The old, not the remake, not the Netflix.
Yeah, not
Devilman.
the remake.
The old
the
anime,
original.
the 2-part OVA one. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a villain in there who literally...
It was Jinman. That's his name. It's horrible.
Yeah, he steals, but he doesn't steal their skin though. He just takes their whole body.
Yeah, he puts them in the shell.
Yeah,
he puts their head in their shell.
Yeah, and then they become part of
him. Yeah,
of him,
and they're half alive.
Yeah, and if anybody that we ain't showing our age, but we watch a lot of stuff. So yeah, that kind of Skinner is that kind of character where he kind of rips off people's skin and he puts. He
adds their skin to them, yeah.
Yeah, and they become, and you see their face. And
he wears their face, yeah.
Yeah, they look like they're still moving, they're still alive. So, and you've got people that are still not over that. And as we are talking about the Halls of Hammerod, they take a lot of flack for that situation. But that situation has happened within a year. That's happened. Like we said, the face eater moths has happened. The dungeons happened. So much has happened. And the space of time, what I'm trying to say is it doesn't match up.
Oh, they're called crawlers. They were called crawlers. The crawlers on the Bloodfields. The crawlers. Adult crawlers, weren't they?
Yeah, because they're the ones that attacked the Halls of Hammerod first in the tomb, isn't it? When they found the door. Mm-hmm. Right. So.
Okay, we took a pause there, but yeah.
Yeah, all right. I'm going to eat my words and say that I thought it was a week that she was in the inn after the goblin attack, but it turns out it was several weeks.
I mean, I don't know why you're being harsh on yourself. When something traumatic like that happens, people can go up for months or years.
Yeah,
so even weeks is like fast.
Yeah, I just didn't think, like with everything that happened, my thing is that I just don't think the timelines work, because the amount of stuff that does happen in the Wandering Inn, I wouldn't have assumed that it would happen with under 12 months.
Yeah, and I think the reason why we're harping on about this is just because I don't think there's a book I've read where the author, and Pirateaba, she's purposefully, for some reason, not letting the story go 1 year later. She's not letting it breathe. I don't know what she's trying to do by...
Or 5 months later.
Or 5 months
6 months later.
Because all of this seems to be happening in a very short amount of time. And once you read from where we have book 1 all the way to here, it doesn't make sense.
And we have to also say that...
As enjoyable as it is, it doesn't make sense.
And we also have to say that even though we have read 14 plus books or whatever, yeah, not all of those books are intensely involved in the score. Do you see what I mean? So you have to take that out of the equation, you know, especially the last three, 4 books. By that time, the score's healed to a point. So, well, not to a point, literally fully healed, you know, and Erin's built, as you guys know, rebuilt the inn and blah, blah, blah. So the passage of time is a problem for me. And you bringing up the Wheel of Time is very poignant, because when you're dealing with the Wheel of Time, a lot of stuff happens, but it happens over a long, like a natural period.
I feel like 5 years or 6 years past. Here's my thing. All I'm saying is I don't know why Pirateaba is holding the time of the development of the story in this bubble on purpose. It doesn't make any sense, even if it's a web novel, and it becomes noticeable when you get to the point we are. It really becomes not. For example, and let's just make it clear, and we'll move off this point. When Ryoka left Mercia with Erin, how can you tell me it's only been 6 months or 7 months with all the stuff happened in between? Since she left Ryoka got abducted by the Raskar. They literally had the Raskar, the face eater moths have happened, the election, all this stuff.
I don't even think it's been 7 months. I mean, we could really be really specific. And
all I'm saying, guys, I know you might, why are you nitpicking? It just becomes a bit of a distraction, especially when you add on top of that, there seems to be some kind of spell on the humans not starting to lose them. And by the way, this is made even clearer with the United Nations, when one of the characters has to tattoo their own child's name on their arm to remember them. So you know that I don't know. And listen, Pirateaba has said that he has written the ending for the Wandering Inn. She doesn't want to die like Robert Jordan, the Wheel of Time guy, and have someone else. These books drain her, and I really wanted to understand what she's trying to do, and it seems that she's making this massive franchise of stories. She's telling a story. I don't mean to throw out the word franchise and that she's trying to make money or make it corporate, or she's just trying to, but I don't know. I just feel like from all these stories we've read in The Wandering Inn, so much great finished stories could have come from them. And I feel like, this could have been called the true never-ending story, because the amount of time that's passed, I can't really see the end goal. I know, The Witch of Webs has revealed herself to be one of the biggest villains. Then you've got Karash, which we haven't spoken about, as the super villain of the story right now. But that might be even like seeing him as a villain might just be a perspective thing, because he had some traumatic past as well, which we can get into. I know time's running out, by the way. I'm just trying to catch up on a lot of things. It brings me to the Cara book series to just say that I think the Cara story is mediocre. I don't think it's bad. I just think, why was this story, of all the stories you've written in this universe, why was this one being put into separate books? And it's not like, oh, I fucking hate this, you shouldn't. No, I'm not. It's just curious to me. The only thing I can relate to it is because Cara has got a lot to do with necromancy, her powers, raising the controlling the dead, and necromancy seems to be like the big evil or the big boss ultimately. It seems like maybe that book would tail into the end. That's a part of the end game of the Wandering In story. But I know I'm not trying to end the podcast by saying all this. I don't really even need to talk about the Cara book that much, because the last one we read, a hunt song about the hunters and the reveal of that, I didn't really appreciate it that much, because where it ended, she can write any story pretty well. I enjoy her story. Even the hunt stuff, I didn't mind. It ended on an unnecessary cliffhanger, and I say unnecessary because I felt like it dragged out that story just to get us to that cliffhanger that didn't give us any answers. I felt, okay, this is the first time that I thought, wow, this is really a fuck you guys. You better tune into the next episode. I'm like, you've never really done it that hard before. She's never really left off on a cliffhanger. And I'm just like, this ain't the series to be like giving me Days of Our Lives cliffhangers.
Well, I'm going to say two things. I'm going to go back to the timeline quickly and say this. This is the reason why the timeline irritates me, because I want to make it clear. The reason why the timeline irritates me is because the stories are long. It's already 60 hours, that you're reading a book. So how am I reading a book or listening to a book that's 60 hours, but no one's moving? The time, the passage of time isn't moving. It doesn't work. That's how, for me. That's the reason why the timeline gets on my nerves, because I'm reading it's long. We've already said the books are long. So the books are long, but it's not moving anywhere. So how am I reading something that's so long, and then I find out it's been a month? I mean, so I'm so long, 20 hours.
I know that.
And it's been a week. It's hard to read like that. You know what I mean? It feels like I'm not moving.
Do you know what? It reminds me, and again, I know people are going to cringe when I say this, it reminds me of The Simpsons, where you can enjoy watching The Simpsons for 5 years, 10 years, but then you kind of look like, okay, what are we doing here? Like, and I've only read this book for 1 year, but we've already read more story than The Wheel of Time or all of Cosmere, and according to the story, we haven't really gotten started. According to what everyone's told me about the webcomic, we've only 10%. So I'm like, what are we doing?
That's my issue with the time. People can say what they want about why you're going on about a timeline, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work. I just want, I would have liked her or them to be like 6 months has passed. And so I feel like I'm moving with what's happening. But to be listening to something for so long, and then feeling at the end, okay, it's only been 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It doesn't work for me. Do you know what I mean? I feel like I'm not moving with the story.
That's why I'm like, is this a webcomic thing? Is it? That's why I can hear people like, oh, why are you fucking complaining about this? I'm like, the publisher that's chopping these webcomics up into books, for the normal reader like us who reads, traditional books with gaps in between, whether it's Mistborn or Michael J. Sullivan's Ryoka or whatever, or Cosmere, this is different, and I'm not sure if it works overall, because now I'm at the point where the actual plot doesn't really feel like it's moving. That Ashkarush has got this big plan or something. I'm not really seeing it, and every time, like every 6 books, something really big happens. And then you find out, oh, it's only been 3 months. And you're like, okay, so if this wasn't part of the end game, what is?
Yeah.
And then we've had, the first thing was Zell Shivertail and his big battle with that was great. The second thing was... But long.
Painful
to
listen to.
Yeah. The second thing was the Goblin War with Reese. Yeah. That was... Getting there was epic.
Yeah.
In between there was a Raskar.
Which we loved, because both of us had problems with the goblins, because the whole goblin saga for me, I was like, give it time, you're gonna find out about it. And for you, you found like, what's going on? Like, come on.
Hold on to that, because I'm going to
Go
give
on.
that its own time. So you just
All
remind me
right,
of that in a
all
minute. And lastly, this third, because I feel like the 3 stopping points were the Zell bit,
Yeah,
the Goblin War bit,
yeah.
and now I'm going to call the true birth of the Hell's Wardens. The Horns of Hammer was such a, like,
Oh yeah. Horns of Hammer was now called the Hells.
yeah, what I'm calling them, that's their nickname in the universe. But that whole saga they went through with Wistrom, the hunt for them, I feel like those, it's like 555, because I went on book 15. Yeah. And by the way, this is the second time, and the end of Torrin as well, which we'll get to as well.
Oh yeah.
The end of Torrin and the second destruction of the Wandering Inn. Yeah. Not the first, but the second. It's like another point where I feel like, okay, but are we really moving? How far are we? And again, I know that from the webcomic, we're nowhere. For all our bitching about the timeline, there's people that I love. This book's going to be there for me forever. We're going to read this book for years. If that's the appeal to you, that's great. I feel like, I didn't say this. And I mean this with all due respect. This year, I'm taking a break from the Wandering Inn. I'm not reading any of the Wandering Inn this year. Not because I'm fed up, but because, one, I need a break. I've read
it's a lot to read in one year.
That was longer
there
than
was
it would have done.
There is a reason why that happened, though, because you do get to a point in the books where you can't actually put them down, because they end in a certain way where you just can't.
I mean, that last book was the end of a chapter.
Yeah, you did say that. It was.
The end of the inn for the second time.
Yeah.
The Horns Hammer had reached a new level.
Yes, it was. That did feel like a natural end, to be fair.
Yeah.
That where it's ended feels like a natural. It feels like, let's
stop here.
Let's stop here. It did feel like that.
Yeah. And it seems that every 5 books, that's the pattern I'm seeing right now. But then, me and you recording this in January 2025, 10 years from now, if the series has ended and she's revised and connect, I don't know. Honestly, I don't really know the future, the end future of this. And what I mean, the
end future.
The current future is the books are going to be released for 15 years more, and then da-da-da-da. But then, me and you are saying this now, people listening could be like, what the fuck you guys complaining about? It's a good book series. You get every 3 months. Why are you complaining? 10 years from now, the same thing that happened to The Simpsons could happen to this, in terms of how much it's like, it's funny and it's fine and it's well written. And again, I know this doesn't attribute to The Simpsons anymore. I'm just saying, people could, actually, One Piece is a good example. There's a lot of fans of One Piece, but some of that, can it end now? No matter how good it is, sometimes something's you gotta start actually moving. And this series...
Yeah, just move.
Yeah.
All I want is move the car a bit. You know what I mean? I don't want my analogy is like, because we live in London, it's hard to...
Can I give you an analogy? Tell me if this is right. Imagine you're on a roller coaster, yeah? And it's the same. You have the lows, which you don't mind because you can see the scenery, but then you have the exciting parts. How many times can you go on that, have the same excitement, you're excited, but you're like, you know what, I just need something to change. No matter how exciting those bits are, when it's good, it slaps. When it's meh, but it's not horrible. But how many circles can you go around like this? And this is only me.
Not many. But this is the thing. I think I'm trying to think of an analogy that also works for me. I kind of feel like I can understand the roller coaster analogy, but in the way of, I feel like the Wandering is opposite of a roller coaster. And this is the reason why. I feel like, that you're on a roller coaster, you're so excited, you get on it, and then you go, and then it's over. 5 seconds, you're like, oh, that was so quick. But it was great. I feel like the Wandering Inn is kind of, can be, not all the time, the opposite of that. Yeah? Where you're on the ride and it feels like you're going really slow, up and down. And then some, end. And then you're like, damn, that was like, I was on that ride for like 20 minutes. And then you find out it's 5. That's how I feel like the Wandering Inn can be sometimes. Do you know what I mean? Like, the passage of time does not correlate to the amount of reading that we're doing. But I want to cut to what you were saying about the
we only got like 45 minutes left, and I've just I said a lot of what I want to say, and the reason why I didn't get into the plot points, because there's so much in the plot to talk about. There's no way we could do it in 3 hours. So I wanted to kind of talk about my main frustration, which is what I feel what I feel is Pirateaba holding on to the real, showing us a lot of good times. We're seeing good times, good things, but really the core of what's really going on is being held back. Things are being alluded to, like the appearance of the humans and the passage of time being held, and then not forgetting people that we're not being told, just to continue this cycle. Meanwhile, you started the second series on the side with a singer singing these songs, pop songs, and I'm just like, I'm not sure if she is like a really creative person who doesn't know how to get to her destination, or it's just someone who has to cook, who likes to continuously cook and cook and cook and cook, and the food is not being served that to finish. Like, are you going to stop cooking? So it's a weird analogy, but I'm just feel like we're constantly cooking. We're adding more things to the menu. Cook, 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 cook. More menu, more menu. Why am I complaining about more items on the menu? Because
Too much.
yeah, I've eaten a lot. I've eaten more than any other book series ever. And I'm wondering, and I'm being told constantly, bro, you're only 10% in the story. How am I supposed to feel? So I just wanted to get that frustration out. And it overshadows a lot, you know, it overshadows all the other things I can say about the story. Because I can point to, that's what I just want to kind of summarize. Instead of me bitching about, oh, this plot point, I'll mention my favorites. But I'm overwhelmed. Honestly, I'm overwhelmed. I'm sport. Fuck it. I'm fucking sport. She's a great writer. I'm getting a lot of content. But I'm kind of like, boy, I need to come.
Okay. I hear you. I think, like, for me, I don't have the same frustrations as you in certain ways. And what I mean by that is, when I first like got you to read this, the first thing I said to you that you'll have to figure out if this is an RPG or if this is a lit RPG or not. I said that to you. Like, you'll figure out if it is or not. Yeah. As the story's gone on, I don't really see this as a game. Yeah, because but at the beginning it's sold that way. Yeah. Like, it's sold that way. But as you get into the story, you realize that actually this ain't a lit RPG.
You didn't even need the game mechanics that much.
You didn't.
Use it, which actually she writes strong stories without even leaning on level ups that much. They're there, but they almost feel like.
Sometimes I feel like they can be a bit tantalizing, because sometimes you want the level up. You're like, oh, what are they going to get out of it? And then there's nothing. And then sometimes they get something. You're like, okay, cool. Yeah. You know, but for me, my frustrations don't fall in the same way yours do. Yours fall on the fact that where's it going? When are you going to wrap this up and wrap that up kind of thing? I don't really have an issue with how did the humans get there and how did this and that. The reason why is because it's obvious and apparent to me that it's going to be a multitude of ways, because we're already seeing that. Sure. Yeah. So I'm not bothered about that, right, as much. And when you're talking about like wrap up, oh, you're going to wrap up the story, I'm at a point where I'm like, what story? I'm like, what story are you going to wrap? There's too many of them to say there's a wrap up. I literally feel like I'm in the world. Yeah, I'm in the world. And that's not a problem for me. The problem I'm having is, like I said, it's the period of time not really moving forward in the story. And I also feel that some of the characters have unraveled in a way that it's not palatable for me. You know, I feel like characters that I felt like I knew who they were, where their
Speak on them, man. Bring in the examples. Bring the receipts.
Well, you know, let's take Seeya
the half elf.
Yeah,
the captain.
Yeah, Captain Seeya.
The promoted captain from the Halls of Hemorrhoid.
Yeah. Let's take her for example.
Yeah.
At the beginning, her character seemed to be one of structure. She seemed to be very in tune with herself, you know, and very disciplined, you know. And now her character's kind of turned into a bit of a sloth, you know. She's kind of like, she's lazy. She doesn't really know where she's going, you know, and it's like she don't know herself, you know. And as a captain of a team, I don't really find her as compelling as I did at the beginning. You know, at the beginning, you found out that she's a half elf. We knew her background. We knew her background with Pisces. We understood. We even found out about with her and the fairies why that's what I'm trying to say. You can't wrap it up because even with the fairies, why the fairies hate. We still haven't really found out why the fairies hate half elves as much as they do. We know the base, but we don't know where that really stems from, except for they're whores and bitches and they, you know what I mean, that kind of thing. So I kind of feel like we're in and I'm gonna say as in a traditional story because this is a new genre for us, right? So in a traditional story, again, you get to understand the characters, yeah. You get to know foundationally where they are, and you expect them to grow, yeah. But I don't expect my characters to regress in that way. Do you see what I mean? And I feel like there's some characters now where I just don't even understand. And even with Erin, she's an next one. At the beginning, Erin was like, you know, trying to find her way, you know, building her in, you know, and doing her chest thing on the side. Obviously, she's not getting no power-ups from her chest thing because it's just for fun. She just likes doing it, blah, blah, blah. She wanted to do magic. She can't do magic, you know. But it's come to a point now where I kind of feel like Erin, I don't really see what's her purpose in the Wandering Inn anymore. You know, I'm getting to a point where I'm like, everybody seems to have a role, and I can't really see what hers is apart from inviting people in. She's starting to feel like a motherly figure more than ever for me now.
She's kind of become an NPC.
I think we mentioned.
I think you mentioned that because she is stationary. When she does move, she complains and starts her little weird antics. You know, I read some things that happen to her in the future which don't move the plot for her at all. In fact, it actually takes her off the board completely. And I'm just like, okay. And like I said, Ryoka just seems to be someone who's moving the plot or jumping between.
But you might say that about Ryoka, but then I have issues with Ryoka because I also feel that I can her character was one of a non-conformist. She was kind of an anarchistic, I don't know if anarchistic is a word, but anarchistic character where she was like, you know, fuck the regime. Do you know what I mean? And she was like that in her world, in her real world as well. So she's come with that energy. I feel like there's making people change, you know, through experience and stuff like that. And then there's totally destroying somebody's
rewriting
character.
them from rebuilding them from scratch.
Right. And I feel like this energy that's there that Ryoka's like, okay, I'm going to calm down. I'm not going to get angry. I need to change. I'll come back when I'm better. I'm just like, bro, there ain't nothing that wrong with you. You know what I mean? I know you're angry. Take a couple of deep breaths, but don't destroy a person's character to the point where now I'm like, this is a whole new person that I'm getting used to.
Do you know what? Here's the thing. I see what you're saying and I agree. The only reason with Seeya and Ryoka, it's a little bit more palatable for me. It's just because they've been through a shit ton of trauma. Now, the thing is as a reader, we're just being exposed to a lot of their mental processes. Actually, Ryoka and Seeya are different in this way. Sierra's personality is changed. Ryoka is more trying to change herself. Like every time it's like she's fighting against herself, I gotta change, I gotta be different.
But why does she need that much change? It's okay for you to be a surly character. It's okay for you to say what you want to say. It's not okay to punch people in the face every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But, you know, I feel like
with some people,
she's been through some kind of chemotherapy with her character.
I think that's part of Pirateaba's writing style with some of the characters. Pisces has recently gone through that as well. Through most of it, it's not that Pisces has been surly. He adopted a certain attitude because he was treated a certain way, which was clearly which was granted. But, you know, which I appreciate. Characters got to the point in the book where they said, mate, you just need to change.
Yeah, but I still feel like he's still himself.
Yeah.
I still feel like foundationally, he's still himself.
But I think what I'm saying is a running theme for a lot of the main characters that Pirateaba seems to be doing to a lot of the main characters, learn about themselves, try to grow. Seeya was a disappointing choice because she's a half elf and we don't know a lot about her upbringing. And because in the beginning she was presented to us as someone not regal, but like when Ryoka first meets her, she talks about how in awe she was of her. And every time we saw Seeya, she was studying and she was very composed. And, you know, to be honest with you, the funny thing is the first thing that broke that illusion for me about Seeya was when we had the flashback about Wistrom, where she just seemed like a brat. And she was very, very judgmental towards Pisces and horrible to him, which she later apologized for in recent times, which is cool, which is catharsis and change and stuff like that. But, you know, some characters she does that with to an extent where it can seem excessive. Other characters, they are who they are and we love them, and that is fucking Ryoka. Some characters are just who they are. They're
I like
quirky,
that. 100%.
Self, and they're cool. And there's a couple of characters like that in the series, and I'm like, Ryoka don't have to change, even though his daughter has cursed him out and told him like this, and he ain't gonna. He's told, listen, kid,
Ryoka is an amazing character.
Yeah, Ryoka's phenomenal. His voice, his attitude. He's like, listen, kid, you know, he just tells you straight, you know,
and very powerful.
Here's another character. Sorry, let's jump to characters now.
Let's jump to characters because we've run
a week time.
Yeah, and we've run this book a bit of a through the arsehole kind of thing. We've given it a bit of a bad.
I'm sure, you know what, we've been doing this for years anyway, and people already done press stop, and these fucking guys.
I know, they're like, fuck these guys, man.
He
I
done
don't know
it, man.
what they're talking
But
about.
let me tell you something, boy. If you've read a book that's longer than if you've read the longest fantasy series of all time, oh, sorry, let me rephrase. If you've read 10%, yeah,
10%
of the longest running fantasy series, I get to bitch about it in a
100%.
very scatterbrained way.
Are you sure we're even at 10%? I think we're more like at 7. I don't think we're at 10.
Going back to characters.
Let's do characters.
All right.
Do characters.
Listen, man, when Kilbakich was first introduced, he was a cute little bug antinium guy. Then all of a sudden, he died. Then we was introduced to what's his name? Kissenber, and he was an asshole. Let me tell you something about Kilbakich and Kissenber. They've switched places.
I'm telling you.
I loved Kilbakich in the beginning, and I hated Kissenber. Now Kissenber is the MVP Antinium, and Kilbakich is a fucking asshole that will kill you because you are dust. You hear that, Andrea Parsneau? You are all dust to me. I love you, Andrea.
Let me tell you, Kilbakich to me is like, at the beginning, just like you're saying, I don't want to say what you've already said, man. I love the character Kilbakich, and I love the fact that he turned into somebody's moany dad. You know what I mean? Like, he literally has turned into somebody's, like, he literally is like the Gemini of the series. Like, he's got his split personality is crazy. He will show the whole, oh, Erin, I can't do voices. And then he will turn into, he'll get into the hive, and then he is like, kill them all. You know what I mean? Like, they all need to die, and you know what I mean? There's nothing greater than the hive. And that story hasn't even come into its full bloom yet.
Yeah.
With the whole, but Kilbakich is a great character.
Yeah, Kilbakich, Ryoka, the watch captains are great. No,
I need to go back to Ryoka. I know you went to Ryoka, but I need to go deep.
Go. I know he's only your fave. You like him even more than me, to be honest with you.
Because I'm just like, you know what? They keep on saying he's ugly. I think that's really funny how they're like, ugh. You know what I mean? That how he's like, he's really ugly. I feel that Ryoka's character, when I think about him at the beginning, how many people he's fought, how many people he's saved, and his attitude towards it, you know. And remember, he was one of the ones that roughed up Rags the most. He was he beat her to a pulp.
He killed her. He killed Rag's family.
He killed Rag's family, sliced the heads, put them on the pikes, everything like that. And, you know, see, that is evolvement in a good way, because he got to the point now where he will turn to Namtung and be like, but he hasn't changed. He hasn't changed. It's cool. He just made it's like he likes Erin, and he's like, and you tell her, I fucking hate them. And but he hasn't changed. But he's reached a new level of understanding. Yeah. That's what I'll say, because he has every reason to hate the goblins.
Very well in character.
But his attitude, even when he's like to Namtung, listen, you know, we've all done it. You know, I mean, we're all monsters. The reason why they hate is because you're a monster. Like, done. Like, let's not sugarcoat anything. You know, and even when he had his fight with Red Fang, and he basically admitted that he was already dead when I fought him. You know what I mean? The way he's written, the way he's come across, Andrea, the voice, blam, like star, and that's the reason why, again, I can say this series can be first, like can be Hall of Fame, because when you've written a character like this in its true form, and it's been carried on through all the books, the writing is phenomenal. So for me, Ryoka is like one of my favorite characters. I think he's phenomenal. I love the whole relationship with his daughter. I love the way he's carried himself. I love the way he's written. Funny, charismatic, and him and Ryoka together, that's a side story I like to hear. Do you know what I mean? When they go on their little runs together, they did the whole Christmas run. I thought that was class act, beautiful writing.
Let me bring up a character that we haven't even mentioned once. I want to talk about Lionette. Now, Lionette is a character, another one where I saw a character change, but this is a good growth. This is a character that was spoilt, who ran away from a situation in their family and ran into Erin, and really has become, you know, my innkeeper of choice.
Ain't that the truth?
She is lovely in every single way. I love everything about her. She's been written really well, developed very well. Her thing with porn is interesting. I'll just say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
She stepped up to Erin and told her to her face, and I think that's a great relationship. I think they're sisters, and I really like Lionette. I think she's grown and developed very well, and I really appreciate her.
Yeah, same with me. I feel like Lionette has definitely grown from calling people peons to calling Mersha her daughter, and that scene was so nice. Yeah. It was such a good
She's fought
scene.
for her. What a beautiful scene.
Yeah, that was so nice. And I also feel like the way she's run the way she's run. Oh, why have I forgotten the little bee's name? I've forgotten the name.
Oh, Hepesta.
Yeah, Apista. And the way that she's carried herself, the way that she's run the way that she's taken care of Apista, the way she's taken care of Mersha, the way she's grown as a character. I'm just like, it's such good writing, you know, and even the losses that she's incurred.
If this series was written where she actually was the one that ran away and ran into one and took it out, I'd have preferred it.
No, I'm not going to go that.
Sorry.
He hates Erin. He's like, I'm going to make you a shirt that says, I hate Erin. You know what I mean? I literally am going to make you that shirt. But no, for me, Lionette is a really good character. And let me tell you, when you delve deeper into Lionette's sisters,
yeah,
and I really do want to
which is one of the highlights of of Cara's character.
Yeah, when you delve into that, it brings more
substance,
depth, into Lionette and where she comes from and what she actually did. And when you think about, and she was an enemy at the beginning. Do you know what I mean? She was an antagonist at the literally at the beginning. So she's blowing up the score, and what happened to her and where she went, where she's gone to now was crazy. One of my favorite moments with Lionette was when she did tell Erin about one of your favorite character of all time,
which
Torin.
I'm gonna jump to Torin now.
When she told her about how Torin, you know, he what was it? She was saying that how he tortured her. You know what I mean? And literally,
that's what I mean.
For
she
her
really blasts Erin.
Yeah, and I love that for her.
I
love that for her.
Yeah.
And there's been so many good moments, and she actually helps keep Erin in line when she goes too far. You know what I mean? And she likes her coins. You know, who don't like coins? She likes her coins. So I think that she, again, a very well developed character. You know, and I don't really want to see her leave the Wandering Inn or see her being taken away from the Wandering Inn. Who knows if that happens or if that is going to happen. But I'm liking where her growth goes, because there were points where I thought, oh, maybe she would become a warrior, or maybe she'd do this, or maybe she'd do that. But where she has come, and even her losing her status as a princess, that's so much good development.
It was very...
Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to give her a thumbs up. I could go through characters and be like, who's Hall of Fame characters right now? I could do that. And she would be Hall of Fame as well as Ryoka for me, as well as, oh, let me let you go.
Torin was a character, as soon as I heard how he came about from Pisces building him as a servant for Erin as payback, I saw so much story potential in Torin that was somewhat realized. And Torin as a character, because Torin is a being that was built into this world with a sentience And I saw so much potential for that because no one really knew it. And he was finding himself and was being abused, even though Erin didn't know she was abusing him. And I give that to Erin. I don't think she knew what she was doing with him. But a lot of people saw and told her, but she didn't listen.
Yeah, but I blame Pisces for that because he should have really explained to Erin about.
And not only that, when you find out how Pisces made Torrin, it really is, he played a very dangerous game.
Yeah, he did.
It's come to a point with Torrin that a chapter has been closed, a big chapter of his story. Now, between the beginning and where we're at now with him, where his ashes have been taken off to Askarash, I'll just say that now. You know, everything in between was pretty cool. But what Pirateaba writ between him and Erin, that last conversation he had in the last book, I don't really agree with it. I don't even want to talk about it because if I start talking about it, I was like, okay, if that's what, I don't know. I just think if that's the direction I was going, okay. And to be honest with you, funny enough, from how him and Erin ended their long-term relationship, I don't think Erin will learn anything from it. Even though the next book is meant to be a lot about her reflecting on what she's changed now, I don't buy that shit at all. But Torrin, you know what? Obviously Torrin's not dead, and I think he's going to be pivotal. My theory is that he is going to be pivotal to the story, to maybe the end of Askarash or something. But all the things he did in between, being free and running, was beautiful. Watching him being pure chaos was wonderful. Him being in the Discord cave stuck in there, I thought that was going in a completely different direction, but I feel like that was abandoned for some reason and he just came out to go. The multiple personality thing was weird, but I liked it. Everything with Torrin I liked. It's just the him and Erin thing and what he really thinks about Erin. I'm not sure which one I don't like more. What he thinks about Erin, what Erin thinks about him. Either way, I was like, I don't really like or agree with how that went. But to be perfectly honest with you, I'm actually happy he's out of her orbit now, and maybe he will develop as a character on his own. Maybe not. I just hope he doesn't. I don't think he'll become a minion of Askarash as he is now. But I liked a lot of what he did. I wouldn't take him away. I thought it was going somewhere else, and it is what it is. I don't love where it ended up, but at the same time, everything in between was really, really good. So
I think for me, Torrin, I'm going to say Torrin and the Bell. Torrin and the Bell. Ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling. Torrin to me, he wasn't as you love Torrin more than me, right? But I love the fact that you have a being that's becoming sentient, and but they're a baby. And that's what we realized in that series, that, that he was a child. He had a child's mind. And we knew that when he went to that other town and he saw that the girl getting raped and he didn't even know what was happening. And the whole description of that, even though it was aggressive, it had an innocence to it because you knew that he didn't know what he was seeing, And it was just, what I liked was the idea of him he didn't know what was right or what was wrong, what was bad and what was good, and he wasn't taught that, right? And so the way he developed was enjoyable, harsh but enjoyable, and him turning a little bit into the dark side, let's just say, it was inevitable because he wasn't taught anything else than what he needed. And I'm going to blame that a lot more on Pisces than anybody else, because you wanted to create a being that could level up, but then you gave it to somebody and then you never checked on it properly to see if it actually has that power. Do you know what I mean? So Torrin, the way he behaved up to when he left the dungeon made sense to me. Even the split personality I thought was very, very interesting.
Very interesting.
Very interesting. And in a way, I think it helped him try to understand feelings, having, the other Torrin helped him understand, understand emotions. When it got to the point where Erin and him had that fight and he started calling her mother and that whole monologue in his mind, I nearly blew neatly flew into. I just said, I know you don't want to talk about it, but I'm not going to. But I'm just going to say that really pissed me off, and I really didn't like it. But what I will say is that when you think about it in the long run, for Torrent to grow, the only person he could be with is with Ashkaroth. Yeah. Because Ashkaroth can help him like develop more. He might even give him a voice box. Do you know what I mean? All that kind of stuff. I think what I'm going to say about Erin at this point, I wish that bit was omitted. In a way, I wish is it Ishmoni that's left? That was left? Yeah, Ishmoni. I think it was her. I wish she just found Torrent in a way, or tried to destroy him and found his bones and took him to Ashkaroth.
That's what happened at the end.
No, but I didn't want the middle bit of him saying, "Mother, mother, help me, mother, love me, mother."
But here's the thing.
All that thing.
You know, I'm glad that's happened just because it's over. Him pining over Erin and that whole thing he had about her, I just needed that to end anyway.
But the thing is, that was a one-sided conversation, and what she was saying was, even them fighting, we could go into it.
You didn't feel the heart, the love when he did the heart thing. You didn't.
Right. So what I will say is, at this point, I'm thinking, like I said, I feel like Erin is like a mother figure, right? So I kind of feel like she's sprinkling her juices all around, like, you know.
That don't sound disgusting.
It is disgusting. I kind of feel like, you know, it's the slime and Torrent going off to Ashkaroth, where we know what's happening with him. I think it's going to be very interesting. That I'm interested in.
Definitely.
I'm very interested, and I don't dislike him going. I just didn't like the method of him getting there. That's my issue with that. But Torrent as a character, this is another character which has so much potential, and I'm going to say has and not had, because I have hope.
Yeah, I'm going to just skirt over some characters. Magnolia Reinhardt is fine. I like her. Her maid is fine. They're funny. They're good characters. Again, some of the characters are already established in this world. I don't need to spend that much time on because they are who they are. I like what I've seen. Magnolia Reinhardt is a warrior. She's a warrior. She's doing a lot of good for people. Fine. I already mentioned, we didn't get into too much detail, but Lakem, everything about him, I love his story. Everything he's done. I think I already said that.
Yeah, we have. But I just want to mention again that, you know, one of the things that really moved me, which I would say again is Hall of Fame, is the fight between Lakem and him raising his people.
To fight the goblins off when they were getting slowed in.
Let me tell you,
when they got yeah.
That brought tears to my eyes. It was so emotive. It was so, even now when I think about that scene alone.
That's when he really became the emperor. He saved the town. They were snowed in.
Yeah.
And he had to use his radar to save people out of the snow.
Yep.
And he also, I think these are two separate things.
Two separate things.
These are two separate things.
That was when he first was able to use his powers. But the second,
his area powers.
Yeah, but the second bit was when they actually came to try to they had to fight for the town the first time, really.
Those are two separate things. They were phenomenal.
When he first became emperor of that town. And that, when he was just like, rise, and the voiceover, like Andrea Parsneau, like the writing, them two came together and it was kismet. It was like so well written, and it just really moved me to listen to that. And that's what I'm saying. Again, this is the reason why I feel like parts of this series are Hall of Fame, because that was like one of the best written things in that genre that I've read. So Lakem as a character, I loved him and his woman.
Yeah, Doreen. At the end of the day, Doreen was fine considering how she came up, you know, ostracized and used, and you know, Lakem came along and that's his woman and his beautiful relationship. In the last book, The Witcher Webs, she turned into and the reviews even on Audible said it. She turned into a very, very whiny person. And you know what? I'm gonna throw Wisteria in there as well. Wisteria was one of the first witches we met way before The Witcher Webs came, and Wisteria and Doreen presented kind of as one thing, and in that book, The Witcher Webs, both of those characters became overly whiny, somewhat unreasonable, just to the point where I was like, I think this is a bit overdone. Generally, I liked both of those characters. Now, Wisteria's got problems with her mum, which I understand. And I don't even
Nobody understand them problems.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even need to go into it with Seeya because the whole witch thing should be its own book.
Yeah,
Honestly,
it should be. It should definitely be its own.
Yeah.
Its own series.
I don't think the order witches are pretty cool. There's one witch who's the judge. She's phenomenal. The judge witch who she's amazing. Anyway, let me jump to Pisces. Now, when Pisces was first introduced to the book, he just seemed like a con artist with a little bit of magic. But, you know, it's taken up until, like, you got to wait till you get to, like, the end of this recent book to really get the full transformation, the full complete. Like, the thing I like about Pisces, I think over time, you've learned little bits of the pieces. Only in the last 2 or 3 books have you it's really been about him. So I really feel for Pisces, he's a really good character. I mean, just the flashback from him in Wisdom really showed me that, damn, this guy was earnest. He just wanted to learn, and, you know, his craft was hated, And then, you know, when that ended, it was unfortunate. He definitely did something very daring, very, very daring. But I had the respect for him. Then he became an adventurer. Look, I really love Pisces' journey. He's a brave man. I understand his frustration. I don't love my craft so much I would be ostracized for it. Like him, he made the decision to go down a path that is going to probably end up with him being unhappy. Even though he's found a home, which is great for him, it was really cool to see him find a place of his own. But he's been a don for a long time. Ever since he joined the Halls of Hammerod, and they all went into that cave where they got the door, he really, like, wow, this guy is not just a thief. He really's got skills. And then from then, he's only gotten more and more better. He's had some interpersonal issues, which is completely understandable. But by the end of this recent book, I got nothing but love for Pisces, really. I really do respect him.
I feel kind of the same, but there's certain things that have happened to Pisces in the writing that I don't appreciate. Number one, I don't like the fact that there was so much ownership over his name, his surname. I like the fact that...
Well, you mean they held it back?
Yeah, I like the fact there was an elusiveness. Right? To him, it was interesting, and I didn't really want that. Certain things that you want to... Sometimes I feel like certain things you want to...
keep a mystery?
Yeah, you want to tell us about. I'm not that interested about. It's not going to really bring the story. And then other things you do, I'm like, why don't you tell us about this? Why don't you tell us about Pisces' name, John, and how important it is? The fact there was elusiveness around him, I liked that, you know? And then when it was explained, I felt like, are you just trying to bring the character down a peg or two? Are you trying to, because he's already been through a lot, you know? I feel like a lot was taken away from him when we found out his background, in a way, for me. In the sense of, we find out he doesn't really, you know, the thing with the sword and the bell, that's really...
He stole it.
He just stole it from his parents.
Even though he was actually skilled, though.
Yeah.
He was self-taught, basically.
I would have liked the fact, just keep him a self-taught swordsman. He's not really going anywhere with it anyway, and then he had to sell it anyway. But to hear that, he just stole it from his dad and he ran away, and he's good enough anyway, I was just like, why you need to do that? And then, because he's already been persecuted so much over and over again, and then just to make it seem like, well, he's just a layman anyway. I just didn't really feel like that was necessary. I'm not saying I wanted him to be some undercover king, but I didn't want him. I don't know why you had to bring him down that low. I don't know how that helps elevate his character in a sense, yeah? But everything you've said about him is true. And let's not forget the kissing game, people. Let's not forget the kissing game. So... his relationship, I know you want to move on, but let me just say, his relationship with Kissinver and his relationship with, I've forgotten, his relationship with Erin's friend, Celis, and, you know, he's got really, I like the way, and I like the battle he's had, and it attaches to Askaroth as well. Yeah. So him as a character, I think his development has not taken so much of a hit as Seria's one for me. And again, I just think the development's amazing. So yeah.
Listen, there's so many characters. I'm going to go to Rags just because I'm going to group this up with the goblin situation.
No, I think you need to finish the Halls of Hammerod, man. You forgot one character that we love. Yes, we love Yvonne.
I love Yvonne, but again, the reason why I don't need to focus on her, because Yvonne, even though she had that traumatic event that changed her, I still think she has kept true to her core self. I don't think the only thing she's had is...
You give her props.
You're right. Sorry, I did forget about her. She is a phenomenal phenomenal warrior. She's a warrior. She's gone further at her own detriment. She saved them. She's put her body at risk. She's finally got what she deserves in a good way at the end of the recent book, which I'm not going to mention. And but she's just someone who is pure. She's someone who is like who knows who they are, who wants to be that, who is someone who knows what they want to be. So I want to be a doctor. I'm going to work hard, and even if shit happens to me. So I got nothing respect for her. So yeah, sorry, I nearly forgot her though.
Yeah. I don't need to say anymore. I just wanted you to acknowledge her.
No, sorry.
I think she's a great character.
She's a great character.
It's funny that her family is a family of vampire hunters, so that's going to be interesting. But yeah, all props to her and happy for where she's landed.
Yeah. Moving on to Rags. With the goblins, and again, I'll keep it short because I know you can pick up where I leave off after this. The goblins that sometimes later refer to themselves as Erin goblins or Erin's friends or whatever. Rags being the main one. I've liked her. She's a surly character herself. She's a genius in her own right. I've liked her progression. But quite frankly, for some reason, in the last 4 or 5 books, that story's been left by the wayside. I don't know why. Now, I just feel like, and this is what I don't like, I feel like one day we're going to get 15 hours of goblins. Just here you go, here's a catch up, and you're going to be like, there's
a lot of goblins all over the place now, and now we've got trolls, which is even worse.
Now that she's taken over, like most of the leftover red fangs, and she's basically, I just don't know why this is one that started to feel like Pirateaba is spinning a lot of plates. I don't know what she's saving the goblins for, like a future thing, but because there was this one goblin, like this super goblin that has been running around, not helping, but dropping nuggets and disappearing like a jackal, you know what I mean? That you're not strong enough. I was in your team for years.
Why have I forgotten his name? His name's gone because you know what it is? It's because he's been gone for so long. The whole element has been gone. People are going to be screaming, da. Sorry, guys. Name gone right out of my head.
4 books. I don't even remember what book. It was the war. It was after the war.
Yeah, it was after the war. That was the last time we saw him.
The only things we saw
It's something beard. Grey beard.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay.
Sorry, I keep on clapping. Grey beard.
No, that's fine.
Grey beard. I think
like
it is.
Rags, Reese was a tragic person, tragic story. Reese and Red Fang were great characters. I won't leave it at that because if you read their story, they were great. They're gone now. What else should I say?
Garen's story was amazing. If we're going to do goblins, we're going to cut this really short because, time. Garen's story was amazing. The what happened to Garen reminds me a little bit of Lord of the Rings and the whole ring scenario, just because of the fact that what he did to his team, because of what he was trying to get. Rags' character I love. The reason why I'm not that mad about Rags' character is because it got to a point with Rags where everybody was like, when is she going to level up and become a hobgoblin? Oh, yeah. That's what we're all kind of waiting for. When is the hobgoblin going to take place? Because you can't, the whole point is with all of them, do you know what I mean? And we've done with the Red Fangs, as we know with the goblins that we love, Erin's goblins in the inn. You go through so much trauma, you go through whatever, and then pop, you're gonna turn into a hob. And the fact that she hasn't, after all she's been through, is wild to me. It's wild.
It's like a Pokemon not evolving. Like Pikachu's has so many fights. I'm like, why is Pikachu not evolving?
She's the Pikachu of the Wandering Inn. It's absolutely true. Sorry, I cut you, but it's like you're right. She is Pikachu because it's just like, The
only reason she's not evolving because the story don't want her to evolve.
Yeah, basically because look, you saw her whole team get cut down. She ran into a town. She destroyed the town. She made what are those Gatling things? She did so much crap. She's been through, and she saw her parents get killed and locked off in front of her. She should be the hob. I don't know if after a hob you become a troll, but whatever is after is where she should be. But she is literally Pikachu right now. Mm-hmm. Rags Pikachu.
It's like Rags. They just want to show Pirateaba to show just because your small strength is, I don't know. But
yeah, the Reese story was hard for me. And for some reason, I still can't get what he looks like in my mind's eye. I find that quite difficult. I can't figure out how he looks. I can see Red Fang, I can see Rags, but for some reason Reese, I don't know what it is about him. But you know, I really I liked his story, but my favorite goblin, I'm gonna do it, is Pyrite. Pyrite is my favorite goblin. When he died, that cut me. And that's another reason why Rags should have un-Pikachu'd herself by now. You know what I mean? Like, Pirate is his story was fantastic. You know, the fact that he's, what do we call him now? What do we call what's happened to Numtongue? The fact that Numtongue has different phases. No, he said no. What do we call him? But I don't want to go into Numtongue before I talk about Pyrite. His story was fantastic. Finding out about the goblins to me was fantastic. The land, the area, the reasoning, the going to the hill, the mountain, all of that.
See, Pirateaba writes such compelling stories about one group of characters. I'm like,
can I just say Numtongue and just have a moment of silence? It's just like, Numtongue is, I can't. It's just a great character. Great writing. I don't even know what to say, bro. Like, Numtongue to me is just like, he's been through so much as a character. He's just such a well-written character, and there's so much future for him. The fact that this is the bit that's genius. Joining Numtongue with Pyrite, putting those two together and fusing them. Come on, man.
I'm starting to think of Namex. How they combine like that, like Piccolo and them other ones.
I mean, why are we using so many anime adaptations for this series?
I mean, let's be fair. The book itself is talking about other materials all the time.
I know.
When Erin makes her little pop culture references, they're fun.
They're fun. They are fun.
She makes a lot of pop culture
Come on, give her
references.
some more sugar. Go on, try a little bit more. You done?
Nah, I don't need to. She's got vehement fans that already put my head on the pike.
But yeah, for me, Numtongue is a great character. Seeing him with the Antinium, aka
the name, the Antinium, aren't they? Aren't they called the one with the names?
I don't even know. But anyways, seeing Numtongue with yellow splatters and seeing how adventure they had and seeing that kind of camaraderie that happens with the Antinium and the goblins and seeing them have that understanding, I thought was genius for me. This is what I'm saying, guys. Like the writing, when it's good, man. Like
You know what's funny? I do feel like we should have done the character thing first before I went on a rant. Let me wrap it back around. So, like I said, so there's two more groups of characters, and then I want to move on to wrap this up. When it comes to United Nations and the Doctor, and that whole team, should have been its own book. That's how interesting it is. From the moment the Doctor came in to do her trauma thing, someone who's trying to save lives, who has no medicine, her leveling up, that was so fucking great. Then when she formed the team with their runner, with the black guy who tattooed himself, all of that, everyone in that team, and I know we don't know all of them. I think it's her, the runner guy, the weapons people making the weapons now. Everything they're doing is so interesting. I would rather they get the spotlight than Floss. I wish they swapped time, but this is the problem when you're juggling all these places. Like, how much time are you giving? Because this is interesting, but it's her story. She's deciding, and then you forget, and then you start to think. If you focus on these people, why are we here? Is there a reason we're here, or are we just checking in? So yeah, everything with them.
The Doctor was an epic story.
Yeah,
definitely.
It was an epic story,
and how they all came together was really good class.
This isn't a character per se. I just want to say, the way Pirateaba has written the system of the Wisdom Academy is so good that could be a separate book as well, easily. The whole thing where they're under the thumb of the golems and then all that stuff, and there's all these factions. I mean, this is just as good as Harry Potter.
Yeah.
But with more edge.
Yeah, definitely more edge.
So let's talk about another character, which you might be surprised. The almighty powerful Mercer. This is a time where cute little, it's funny. This is where I think Pirateaba shows a breadth of different writing. When Mercer goes in the cute and powerful Mercer goes, and then she met the slime, and then she went to, it was so cute. And then she got the powers. I thought that was so refreshing. You would think I would hate it, But I loved it. I'm like, this is so cute. It's so cool. You know what I mean? So I really wanted to, immerse the, it's a sad character, went through trauma, stuff like that. Anyway, but yeah, Mersha, she's cute, she's fun, I like her, I feel bad for her. I feel like I said, they could like use her character because she will be the first no entered into Wistrom because she's got magic. So Wistrom is so well thought out. She's thought about a lot of this stuff very well, and some of this stuff I just feel like she's kind of spinning her wheels. Like for example, and just to wrap Floss up, everything going on Floss, I don't really care. I can't stand the twins. They're whiny as fuck.
Yeah, Floss is the weakest link.
Yeah, I'm just like, and he isn't even a bad guy. I don't care about Floss. I just don't care about Floss.
Some
He's
of the
not a bad guy.
stories, the stories have been interesting, but they're not like...
Everything around Floss is okay. Like, when he went to that town
got
with that
warmer.
dying man.
It got warmer.
Yeah. When he went to that last town with that dying man, that last, that he took trade to, that guy is a living zombie who's dying. I thought that was cool. That guy's story was cool. Anyway.
For me, I just
on.
want to do some of the other characters that I love, or some of the teams that I love. Obviously, Horns of Hammerod, but my favorite, you know who my favorite
The
team
Half
is.
Seekers.
The Half Seekers are like my favorite. I love
They were your favorite.
They were my favorite. They were.
Until someone fell in love. You couldn't stand it, man. I understood Jellicoe finding love.
But I love Jellicoe though, and even the way it ended in the last book when they were like, we gotta move on, and she started crying. I was like, okay, this is the reason why I love you though. Jellicoe to me, like the Heart Seekers is such a good story, where they come from, when they got back on the road, how they behave. The Heart Seekers for me are they're just a really good team. I love Jellicoe. I love Moore. I love Seaboard. Like all three of them, man. And you know when they lost, it's so funny because one of their team died, and I cannot remember who it was. And then when it comes to the Silver Swords, I like Revy. She's a bitch. Yeah. Erin, give me more food. What is this?
Oh, is she the shopkeeper?
No, Revy is. No.
Oh, her. Yeah, I know her. She's the one that just annoys her, keeps on asking her, keeps bothering her. Yeah. Not the other, not the cauldron lady.
Yeah, I think supposedly she's a half stargazer and a summoner. She summoned.
Yeah.
But I thought she also is like what are they called? Them people that can change their. Yeah, she's one of them, like the innkeeper, not the innkeeper, the woman. Why have I forgotten her name?
Oh, like the doctor.
No, she's not like the doctor. She's like
the thing that enters your body.
No,
that goes into the other body?
No. She is.
Oh, that's Jellicoe. Sorry.
That's Jellicoe. She is like Jellicoe's a Selfid. She's like, people are gonna kill me. The shopkeeper, the one that can change her.
Oh, she's a Stitch.
Yes.
She's a Stitch person.
Stitch maid?
Yeah,
whatever.
Stitch person,
I can't remember what
she's
they're
a
called.
Person, yeah.
But yeah, she's that as well, innit, Revy? I think that's what she is. I mean, you're gonna.
I believe so. No,
yeah,
I believe so.
I'm sure that.
Yeah. Because they're surly. Because they're surly people.
Yeah.
They won't shut up, just like the shopkeeper.
Yeah, and Horrock and stuff like that. So yeah, there's loads of characters that we love. Let me just say, have you got another one you want to mention? Because I wanted to just talk quickly about what you spoke about when you were talking about this.
Yeah, I do.
All right, go.
I would be remiss if I don't bring up Cara. Now, because Cara...
That's who I was going to talk about next, so go on.
Because Cara's the start of her own series, I just want to say, reading the first two books, Gravesong and Huntsong, the funny thing about Cara's books, is that she is the least interesting thing in those books. Everything around her, I find pretty compelling. When she came in and she was in the tomb with the Ghost Knight, and how that came about, and how she met Lioness Sisters and the town, all of that was good. I didn't mind any of that. But her herself, it's not like I hate her. It's just that I find her character not that compelling. And in this second book, The Huntsong, it was more the same. The Hunters were interesting. The conspiracy with the Hunters, which we haven't fully understood yet, was more interesting than what Cara was doing. Because it's like, she's not an opportunist, but she just wants to make something of herself. And that's it. And I'm like, okay. And I know she wants to make up for all the disasters she made in that first Gravesong book. But I got to be honest, I love you, Andrea Parsneau. But my whole thinking was that the reason that book was made was for your voice. So you can show your talents, which I love for you to do. But, And if that was Pirateaba's thing, you know what? You're so good. I want to make this character where you can showcase your singing. Do that. That's fine. I might be completely dead wrong, but I don't find Cara compelling. I don't hate her at all. I just find her like another minor character that I'm surprised. But like I said, I think her powers of necromancy and her showing us the other side of the world of the Wandering Inn is just filling gaps in that would, in some ways, I'm like, if this was in the Wandering Inn, would it be saving time? Because all you've done is made us look at another book in the same world. So putting it in, but then maybe it's a way to de-bloat the book. Maybe Pirateaba's like, you know what? I've put too many characters. Maybe I should shift someone to a second book, which is fine, I guess. But Cara is not that interesting to me. I don't hate her. She's fine. I wish she had something I could say I love about her. I like the fact she doesn't take no shit. That's for sure. The fact she sounds exactly like Seeya doesn't quite bother me, but it's kind of like, okay, you know, so...
It bothered me at the beginning.
It did
really
at the beginning.
me.
I'm like, okay.
It was weird.
Another Seeya, okay. But I don't want to blame Thingy because she does so many voices. She only does 15 voices. So, but yeah.
For me, the whole Cara situation, her books, I do totally agree with you that I'm surprised that it warranted a whole new series. What does warrant a series, though, is the actual world that she's living in. I can't actually call that a land. I have to call it a world.
It does feel different, yeah.
The issue that I have with that world is that from chapter 1 to chapter the end, we are still hearing about the history of that world. It got to the point where my mind was scrambled because there was so much information about the history of the world and this and that and that and that, or let's say the land, that I was just like, you're giving me so much information that I can't get into it as much, yeah? Cara as a person, when she was in the tomb, I liked her. The reason why is because she had these kind of funny ways where she was trying to hide who she was, and you know what I mean, I liked her sneakiness, yeah, but I don't think it went far enough for me, you know. And then it got to a point where her anarchist ways started to come out, you know, where she can't stand royalty and and you know, and they tried to just base that all on her Irish blood and all that kind of stuff, which I didn't really appreciate that much, yeah. And so for me, where she is now in the second book, the things that I liked was when she actually did end up going on tour, let's call it, like army tour, when she went on,
that was pretty cool.
I liked that, you know what I mean? But it bothered me that she didn't want to delve into that part of her powers. I felt like up to that point, she was kind of ignoring it. But it didn't bother me that much when she's trying to promote herself as a singer and stuff. What does bother me about this whole situation is that when I first heard about Gravesong, I felt like it was going to be an extra from what Erin was doing, you know, her bringing up songs and them singing about it.
Okay.
Now, I understand that for copyright reasons, you can't you can't use popular songs. But I kind of feel like it would have been nice for some songs to really be integrated, even if they were made up songs. Do you know what I mean? One of the things that I found that was really interesting and beautifully done was when she sang that song at the end of Gravesong. Oh. And all the voices were like, yeah, I thought that was...
It was pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, I thought
that's why I was like, oh,
good.
If this is a platform to showcase Andrea Parsnow's skills, that I'm like, this book did that already. But if you want to show she can sing too, that all power to her, man. She deserves so much.
Yeah, it's not even the fact that her Andrea's singing. It's just the fact that I felt like if we're going to listen to a book about Gravesong and it's basically about somebody who's a singer, even though her acting was really funny when she tried to act, but when she was doing all that, it would have been nice if songs were actually attached to it. So that was my issue. One thing that I did find really interesting, though, and a little bit dark, was when we were talking about the princess, who I've forgotten her name. I'm sorry.
Which one? Lynette's sister.
Lynette's sister.
Okay. Even I can't remember. The one who got married off for the third time?
Yeah.
They give her a nickname. Don't they call her the Doomed Princess or something because of that?
I think she is called like the Doomed. I might want to look it up.
Yeah.
I found that story interesting. It started to get interesting at the end when she did get married to the guy, and they had sex. It was really interesting what happened there,
funny.
and I thought it was quite an interesting thing to put in.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because I was like, well, that's interesting. The fact that, she had sex with a
I
guy
mean, she
and now
was
her
checking him
name.
off at one point. I was like, wow.
Was she?
Yeah. They were in the covers and it was like someone came in and she had a hand. I was like, you're writing that shit in? That's the funny thing about Pirateaba.
I didn't hear that
Yeah.
bit.
Pirateaba writes in some. They have adult conversations sometimes, like blatantly adult conversations, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
Because it's, this series is not really for kids. Too
No,
much.
it's not. Well, so
Yeah.
I mean, you just mentioned what's her name? The Great. That's gone out of my head. You would just Mersha the Great. Mersha the Great, you can put that bit for a kid, that little story there. But no, it's not for kids because there's rape and murder and killing and stuff like that. But what I found really interesting, it's such a small snippet of the story. But when she married the guy and then she brought up the sex thing and how she got depressed, basically, and there was this idea of abuse that was happening there, even though it was it's one side. How can you say abuse is one-sided? But if we were hearing her side of it because it's also her duty, yeah. And then she started talking about the men that she married
And how they perform.
and how they perform. Not only that, but how the effect it had on her and things like that. So I thought that was a really interesting, compelling
and
thing.
how
that
her
she
mum
did.
told her this is what it's going to be like and all that.
Yeah, and how her actual what her thing changed, because I think she was the Doom Princess and then she became the Mourning Princess,
something like
that.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was quite interesting. I thought also it was interesting that the ghost started to help her out and tell her that, oh, actually, you're not actually acting like royalty and da-da-da-da-da. That in itself was compelling to me. And it was such a small, that was probably like an hour, maybe 2 hours of the whole story. Cara herself doesn't bother me, but I don't think that she compels a whole saga, a whole series. I also feel her land, like I've said, is a world. And I also feel that when they brought the witches into it, that confused me partly because I was like, so now we're going back in time now. I didn't really realize until that point that, because when she first came up,
She's looking for her daughter
yeah,
that she hadn't found in the Witch of Webs
yeah.
yet.
So then I was just like, so this is before the Witch of Webs. This is before da-da-da-da-da. So what's happening? And obviously there's some underlying issues there because half of the ghosts are missing. More than half of the ghosts are missing. First, I thought it had to do with her, but now we find out it's not. Everybody's a bit confused in that, and I'm calling it a world. I can't call it a land because there's too many differences from the rest of Israel. So I'm kind of like,
I mean, the hunters and their guild. It's
The
very
guild-
the conspiracy with the hunters is very compelling, especially when they failed. There was this thing when they tried to out them.
yeah,
They just
and they
go-
were like, "Hey, we've done this." That was funny when they were like, "Well, this has happened 2, 3, 4 times before. Let's just go back to work." But the thing that was interesting to me, not interesting actually, was when we found out the big story at the end. It was bullshit.
That secret weapon in the tomb that they bring out, because they brought him out in the middle of the story.
Oh, him, but
and I
he's not the
completely
story.
but
But he's not the conspiracy.
he's got something to do with it
What is the conspiracy?
because they hide him.
What's the conspiracy?
I don't know.
I still don't know.
But the thing is, the conspiracy was when she leveled up, she got a new title that she was doomed, and they were like, "You never should have leveled that." They were like, They didn't want to tell her because I don't know if you noticed when we're talking about Hunt Song, by the way. At the end of Hunt Song, there's this big conspiracy about what's going on. Why do the hunters don't do shit? They run
in
by
one section, but it's not all of them.
No,
it's
no.
them
It's
in that
the main
the main one
section.
Yeah.
They let people die and all this shit.
Yeah.
And then she comes up against some demon zombie or something.
Yeah. It was a skeleton actually.
Yeah, a skeleton that she wasn't meant to interfere with or something. So, and again, they left it on the cliffhanger because they need to explain. Because it's like I don't know what kind of agreement they got going on, but they bring out this Frankenstein hunter who's living for
Who's in a tomb that they carry around.
Yeah.
With him in it.
Yeah. And then she leveled up because she nearly died, but they called her like she's in the dark secret. And I'm like, why did you? I thought it was a really horrible decision to end the book there. I really
well,
feel like
I was like, where's it? Where is the conspiracy? Where's the conspiracy? And then at the end, I still don't know where this conspiracy is. I still don't get it. So maybe someone's gonna fill me in if you got to the end of it. Someone may fill me in
And by
and
the way,
explain to me what it is.
I never really looked into if the Cara books are not being written, if those are being written separately or if they're part of a web story. I'm pretty sure they are, because this is one, again.
But then you see, this is another reason why, again, I'm just going to say that the witches being part of this, being this whole world with Hunt Song and the witches and everything, because also the witches play a big part because you've got one that's literally controlling people.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That was actually the most compelling thing. She set up this slave worker thing.
Which seems to be all over.
That was the most
section.
interesting thing about the book.
Yeah.
That she's doing some really fucked up shit.
Yes.
You know what I mean? She's
Yeah.
a really, really compelling villain.
Right.
I really like the witch.
And I like the fact Ashcroft was like, maybe I should start having friends of my own right now. I might need some friends. And I've learned something from you. You know, but this is what I'm trying to say. I kind of feel like, for me, Grave Song and Hunt Song and stuff like that, it's a world. I don't understand why you want to make this part of Iswasil. It doesn't make sense to me that this is part of Iswasil. And I feel like the witches are its own story.
I can't keep up.
No one can. That's why you need a break.
Too much.
That's why we need a break, isn't it?
We're taking listen, and then we're gonna wrap this up now because we've spoken about a lot. There's no way we're gonna cover everything.
We can't.
I'm looking at the recording time. It's been 3 hours, believe it or not. I feel like we got a lot of stuff we want to take off our chest.
I mean, we did it in the most messed up way because normally it's not as structured as we normally would be because we started with the moan and we ended with the characters, which is wild.
Which is wild, but at the end of the day, you know, it bothers me, just like I did on our anime days where you go to look to a review and everyone's talking about how perfect and amazing it is, and the people that are critical, they get just shot down. Now, when I made that review talking about how Erin, you know, there was some pushback on not hating Erin, but I'm like, when are people going to talk about the critical things? But what I found with the Wandering In, with the Wandering In, is that people either love it to death or they just drop it.
They can't get into it.
Or they don't talk about it.
Yeah.
And I just want to, you know, us having this long conversation about it. You know, actually, this is one thing I wanted to say. You know, the one thing I couldn't find? I couldn't find someone reviewing every book. Like, there's a lot of series.
It's long.
But there's a lot of series you'll see where they'll be, this is volume 1.
Yeah.
People only ever talk about the first 2 books.
Okay.
And then nobody talks about anything else.
I mean,
unless you're on Reddit. I'm
I
talking
hope
about
no one
audio.
wants a breakdown of every book because we could do that. But boy, I don't understand that because one of my favorite sections of the books are the Lescaut books. Those, I think, and obviously the fairies is fantastic. We didn't even, there's so much, listen, there's so much to talk about in these books. There's so much to talk about. And I think ultimately, I said this to you, Don, that I think that because of the fact that these books, I'm sorry, book 1 has been rewritten, whether it's been fluffed up or whether it's more structured or whether, you know, some of the filler's been taken out, it's been rewritten. I don't believe that the other books are not going to be. I feel like this is going to be rehashed again and again, maybe, and again.
No, I've heard that she's rewritten a lot, but to put it out and to get Andrea to do it again is an overtaking because she finds it stressful to even do the books as is. But this first book is an entry point, so they made it a priority, which makes perfect sense.
And you know what? Before you even say that, I'm going to say this again about Andrea. Again, girl.
Legend.
Hats off to you.
Legend, fucking legend, man.
I don't care if if somebody runs you, just give them my number, yeah? Because I will come for them. Because you are like the GOAT. You know what I mean? I literally feel like
without her, I honestly don't think The Wandering In would be as successful as it is. I'm just saying, I'm not saying the web novel wasn't successful. I just mean her delivery of these characters elevate. We always talk about how audio elevate, but because she does all these characters and they all have their own voice, except for Cara and Terandria, she's taken this whole fan.
I mean, who is our other favorite
voice acting person?
Voice actor, yeah.
Do you know what? Even though I don't like Floss, every time I hear him, here's the characters that I hear, that when I hear them, I don't hear anything but the person, man or female. When I hear Pisces, it sounds like a completely person. When I hear Magnolia, Ryoka, these are characters, I just hear them. Even Magnolia's assistant. Look how cool she is. Oh, Magnolia, kind of even the other shop assistant, the one, the Stitch woman. And by the way, okay, we never spoke about Askarosh, okay?
We didn't speak about
Now,
Ashtarosh.
I
We
just
don't have
want to,
time to speak about
we don't.
Ashtarosh.
you know, so far, I like everything I've heard about Askarosh. And he seems like a person who's been traumatized, victimized, and went down the dark side, basically like a Darth Vader type kind
And
of
I think that's
character.
what Pirateaba does well. She makes us look at characters in a three-dimensional way. Like, you can't just look at a character and think this guy's a villain and that's it, and there's no reason. He's just loving to be a villain. He's just a villain.
What was it, Chandler something?
Oh,
Something. I want to say Chandler Bing. But
don't say John Lebing.
yeah.
But yeah, I like the fact that we're getting to see the underbelly of him, you know, and she makes us look at characters in that way. And that's how I felt with you with the goblins. I'm like, look at it. She's making us look at things in a different way, which I love. But what I was trying to say to you when we were talking about Andrea Parsneau, I'm going back to Andrea, is that who is the other person that we love that reads audiobooks?
Oh, I always say Tim Jennings Reynolds, always because of Ryoka, you know. And we just listened to Drummondor, the most recent.
Yeah.
And, you know, just, it's not, you know what, it's not just the voice. When you just feel the camaraderie between the characters you're voicing,
Yeah.
and him is the only other character voicing two people in a room, just like with Ryoka and Kilbakich, and it just feels so good.
Yeah, and that's the reason why, like, with Andrea, I just kind of feel like she really, when I have felt like this is too much sometimes,
Yeah.
she really has just pulled me through, and I just feel like I've listened to bits, and I'm like, bro, is one person, right? Because this woman sounds like a guy here, like the different.
If I didn't see her on camera do the voice, and now you've seen it,
Yeah, I've seen it.
so I'm like, she's a fucking
Yeah,
legend. And by the way,
kudos.
let's go with the conspiracy.
What? Which one?
Pirateaba is AI.
We've said this already, that we're just like, is this really one person?
How does someone
we have
write
said that.
12? Because the books we've read are almost 5 million, which is longer than the reader time. But her web serial
Yeah.
is over 12 million words, which is longer than anything. Here's the thing, yeah. When I think of Pirateaba, I think of Tupac, because people say Tupac just he just recorded, he's got millions of songs. If you put someone in a room and they just kept on writing,
Yeah.
it's possible someone could just keep on writing, and they did nothing else. I've read her blogs. She writes about being overworked. All she does is write. You can go on her YouTube channel, Pirateaba's got a YouTube channel, where you can see her write it in real time.
Wow.
And this is just someone that is just like, in Hunt Song, this book we just read, there's the elf that Cara's dating now.
Oh yeah.
Is a guy who says he believes, and this is even, I've seen this in real life, there's a practice, someone could be a martial artist,
Yeah.
but someone who's perfected one thing once perfectly can kill you. Do you get what I'm getting at?
Yeah. Well, that's, yeah. Oh, you mean in regards to Pirateaba?
Yeah.
Okay.
So she has just
Maybe, yeah.
That's what she does. She writes.
This is what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm going to say. In the future, I think that if the books get rehashed a little bit, that I think it is going to be Hall of Fame. It's going to be, because she has the potential. The stories have the potential to be up there.
If this wasn't a slice of life, stream of consciousness story, and she just cut to the point, so it was all the, not even, let's say not the, like, before,
Take it all away. But
like, before you said that I'm just trying to get to, it's not that I'm trying to get to the end, but I like, everyone keeps telling me on the web serial, you guys are only 10%. I'm like, it just makes you feel sick. I'm like,
yeah, the fact that this is
10%,
10% is.
then I'm like, what are we doing? Like, and if where you are 90% ahead, the plot isn't moving, and where I am,
Well, if you're just 2 years ahead, if you're in year 2,
yeah,
and we're at 10.
and I've read more than the reader
Yeah.
time, what are we doing?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, wow. The only problem with this woman is that she won't finish the story.
No, and not only that she won't finish, but there's more characters coming. And this is the thing that I will say. There's more. There is going to be more. And if you're going to read this, just understand there is going to be more. But I don't know if I want to read this for the next 30
No.
years. I don't know.
What can you say about someone who has the potential to who could have written multiple separate stories in separate? You could separate a lot of these arcs into separate books, separate trilogies, and could have been rich. But she's stuffing them all into one story, and then 10 years from now, she could refine it all, and then it could be doled out to us in different ways, and then.
Well, it won't be doled out to me. It won't be doled out to us, because I don't know if I can go back and read it again.
Next thing you know, this series has been released as it's not The Wandering, it's something else. In like, for example, if she sold this as a TV series, a TV executive might be like, listen, we're not going to do all this shit.
Yeah. They might just take Wistro.
Yeah, we're going to, exactly. Yeah, can we just franchise
we'll
this?
take that.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just take Laken. No, it's okay. Leave that aside. We'll take, vampires that we ain't even got into. There is a lot. There's a lot. This is a pizza planet,
That's going to dovetail into the end of our conversation. The future of The Wandering Inn to me is very bright. Some people, every complaint we've had about the time and too much, people be like, this is my dream project, because they love Pirateaba's writing style. They love the characters keep coming. They don't think she's done anything wrong. They've just got a storyteller who's going to tell them the story forever. Now, I honestly think, and Pirateaba said this herself, she doesn't want to be someone who just writes and dies, and then some other author just fills in the gaps. That she's written the end now, and she wants to write the middle. But I'm like, obviously, we're
at the beginning.
Right at the beginning. We'll find out that in 10 years. You know what? She deserves it. She deserves all the accolades. She's made a great fan base.
All this writing she's done so far, it's like we're giving you claps because, not around the face. We're actually clapping. Like,
imagine someone said to you, "I'll make you. You could be rich forever, or you could be one of the greatest storytellers forever if we just trim this down. All you need is an editor." Because when she's done with it, someone might be like, this story is great, but we need to talk.
Yeah, somebody. If you want to make it general reading for general readers, then it does need an editor. But for this genre, which is new, we acknowledge the newness of this genre. So we're breaking this down as typical readers. Let's just put typical audiobook listeners and readers. Yeah, so this is how we're breaking this down. So if you're a typical audio listener, this is going to be a struggle for you. If you're ready for a new genre of audiobooks and listening and slice of life, and also if you are like bedridden and you are sick, for a long period of time, you're marooned.
Like Tom Hanks on Castaway.
Yeah, something like that. This is going to take you through the whole of that period of time. I don't know if I would take it with me on a desert island, though. I don't know if I would. But if I'm telling you, it did get me through. I'm not going to lie. In life, my life right now, it did get me through some times where I needed to get shit done and not be as focused in my mind. Sure. Do you know what I mean? And so, yeah, for me, I'm going to put my last words on it. I feel like I'm happy I listened to it. I felt emotions that it was emotive enough for me in ways that I haven't had in a long time in a book. You know what I mean? Or in an audiobook or whatever. And so I don't regret listening to it. Passing it on to people, I would have to, it's an acquired taste. So I definitely have to, I couldn't pass it to everybody in the frame it's in right now. It has to be specific.
I said to you, like I said in the beginning, it's like One Piece. Don't look at the length. Check out the first 2 books and make up your own mind. But, if you're listening to this far, then you've already heard everything and spoiled and all that. You've already gone the distance with us, isn't it? You might not have the same criticisms. You might just think we're spoiled or you like this. That's fine. I agree. I don't want to take nothing away from Pirateaba or Andrea Parsneau at all. It's just like I am daunted, overwhelmed by what's coming, what I've already read. I'm confused about the passage of time, but I understand now from all of what I've read from everyone else, and that this is an ongoing story. Time isn't really a factor. I will check in on this story, I think, every year. I think that's what I'll do.
I think we kind of made that decision because sometimes if you're going to read something or listen to something for 60 hours and then it ends on a cliffhanger, it's kind of like a kick to the nuts. Yeah. It's long.
We're wondering ended now. Yeah. It's a nice, clean place to stop.
Yeah, but anyway. As we went to Huntsong, that was not a good place to end.
No.
Like what? So, yeah.
probably would have told people just listen to the Wandering, don't listen to Hunt Song.
I would probably say, if someone said to me about Grey Song, I probably would be like, yeah, don't let that finish. You might need to do 3 books at a time, because where that ended, I didn't like it.
In fact, I would rather just catch up with that story more when that one comes out and leave the Wandering in. I don't need to, or maybe I just leave it all.
No, I think year to year, there's loads of things that, for me, there's lots of things I'm listening to. So I think I might do year by year, unless something really like pops off. Yeah, and dry drought. Yeah, no, I mean, like, I ain't got nothing left. Then I might jump on it. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like it's a sweet pain. Maybe that, like, it can be slightly painful, but when like we said, I'm gonna say, like you said, when it slaps, it slaps.
Yeah. And listen, I appreciate you bringing it. It's I can't.
At least you don't hate me.
Listen to it. You know I do. You know why?
Bring it.
You know why? You gave me The Wheel of Time.
Yeah.
Then this.
Yeah.
Then Rift War.
No, I gave you Rift War, and then
Okay. You've literally given me 3 of the longest written series of all time, all in one go. So for the past 3
don't make it
years,
sound that deep, boy. No, it's not that deep. I gave you other stuff in between. You gave me stuff that was fun to listen to.
I appreciate it. Listen, if you listen to the whole discussion and you appreciated some of what we said, then, you know, leave a comment down below. You know, but most people, they just love to write about what they love and not what about they find frustrating and all that. Here's a place you can do that if you're bothered to. Looking at the recording time of this discussion, we're going on 3 hours 18 on the raw recording. I hope to have this out before April, because it's going to take me that long to just in my leisurely time, if I decide to edit. But part of me doesn't want to edit.
Nah,
really.
you better edit it.
I better edit it.
Yeah, I bet you when you listen back, you'll be like, yeah, I got to edit this shit.
Yeah. I got to fix the sound quality issues and all that. But other than that, anyway,
we were all over the place.
We were, but I felt, look, I came with a little bit of a plan. Do you feel, before we go, like there was anything, I know later, but I forgot to say this, to your mind, let me give you the last space. Was there anything you didn't say about the book, any random shit that you want to add right now? Because here's your last chance.
I will always have more to say about the Wandering In.
Sure.
So I can't even, there's best shit that I've missed out.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Same.
We didn't talk about the Antinium as much as I wanted to.
Okay.
There's loads of things that we didn't talk about, but, you know,
we loved the clown. We loved that story so much.
I was about to say that the clown, to me,
but he's like a side story at this point, because he only came in like twice.
Yeah, he doesn't need to be any more than that. Nah, it's meat, man. It's full meat, you know, that's cooked. It's cooked. So, you know, you got to chew on that. But yeah, the Wandering In, to me, yeah, like Don, you said, I have given you a lot of long series.
That's fine.
But there's always more to say. So I ain't got nothing to say. Put it that way. There's more, but I'm going to leave it there right now.
If you felt like us in any way, please share your thoughts down below. Honestly, if you just think we're like toffee nose pricks who didn't appreciate the stories that keep coming out, fine.
Yeah, keep it.
Fine, fair enough. I think the last thing I would say is that what I saw the graphic novel The Last Tide, just it, you know, like a Filipino having on these islands in the water. It looked, just the art looked so cool.
The artwork, the illustrations looked really nice.
I just really wish that was an audiobook as well. You might as well. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Maybe one day it will be.
Maybe. Yeah. Like I said to you before, I thought that was going to be the next audiobook. I didn't know it was going to be Hunt Song.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Grave Song,
Hunt
Song.
So yeah. See, my voice is going.
We're done,
guys.
Man. We out, guys.
Bless.
It's been a long time, innit? You know
I know.
saying?
Let's not make it over 11 years again.
Yeah.
Let's see indeed.
You see, I only bring you on set for the special occasion. One Piece, Wandering In. There better not be a next series down the line, you know. You know what? To be fair, I told you I'm loving Rift War right now. Rift War's long, but it's not as long as this.
I know, but Rift Wars. I'm sure most people have listened to Rift Wars anyway, so you know. But if you haven't, you're missing out. There's loads of good stuff out there.
Loads of good stuff. All the skills. Anyone want to give any book shout outs before we go? Anything else you want to shout out for those?
You know, we already said about Dungeon Crawler, Carl. So
everyone knows about that already.
I know, but I'm late to the party with that one, I think. But not my head is scrambled right now, boy. Too much wandering in talk.
Yeah, man. We did
So,
it.
yeah.
I hope you got it out.
We did do it.
We did do it.
We did. I know I haven't got all of it out, but I'm okay. I don't need as much counselling as I thought now. No. All right, people.
Guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing. Leave a comment down below. If you got this far, my God, I might have to give you a special gift or something. But no, honestly, thanks for listening.
We'll send you a copy of The Wandering Inn.
If anyone on the team, like Andrea, Parsneau, or even Pirateaba, for some reason end up listening to this, please take everything we said in the positive spirit it was meant, with the fair criticisms. We're just listeners and all that. We're not haters. We love your story. We really do, for the most part. But Andrea, Parsneau, absolute legend, perfectly executed. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm so in love. All right, guys, let's go.
Peace.
Catch you in the next one. Thanks for listening. Peace out.